right. Wide open Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me? And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Happy Tuesday, October 8th to all of you. We are here at Bankroll Blitz, and my co-host Troy Torrence back in action. We missed you in weeks 4 and 5. It is great to see you rocking with us again. How are you, my man?
Doing good. Could be doing better in the NFL season. You know, I know you haven't updated my record right now, but after a devastating first 3 weeks, I was having a tremendous 2-week run. And then the last 2 primetime games fell through. It was a 7-unit swing. Definitely don't want to be results-oriented. So I'm ready to dive in, man. I got some action. I'm ready to share.
Yes, we'll have the updated record here next week for your action. You were replaced for 2 weeks by our friend Birdie Betts, and we want to thank Birdie. He did a great job here on the show. He had a great 2 weeks. So with us, Birdie went 14-11, hit at 56% plus 4.12 units, ROI plus 16.48%, and his average line, Troy, was higher than your average line last year. His average line plus 162.
162
plus 162 for Birdie. And he had a wild week last week. He started off, in rough shape. He lost the Buccaneers money line, lost Bucky Irving anytime touchdown. He alternate line Dolphins team total under 9.5 at plus 400 and didn't get that. Lost the Bills double result at plus 175 and lost the Bills money line at minus 112. So he was sitting there 0-5. And then he sweeps the board. Cardinals plus 7.5 minus 108. Rams first half money line at plus 134. They cash the first half, lose the full game. Giants plus 6 minus 105. Giants money line plus 226. And Chiefs minus 4.5 at minus 108.
He got the Giants money line. What a dog, man. Yeah, Birdie's good. He's really good.
He's good. Birdie, we thank you for the hard work that you put in the last 2 weeks. For me, it was a 4-2 week. As I said on week 3, I'd been, just making too many bets. I've been trying to get it down to 7 or 8. And I went with 7, got 7 last week. So I cashed Miami, New England first half under 17.5, cashed Miami, New England full game under 35.5. Lost the Bills money line, cashed the Giants plus 6, lost the Steelers minus 2, pushed the Jaguars minus 3, and cashed the Cardinals plus 7.5. And last night, if the Steelers win, I'm in the black on the season. I am in the black on the season with the official live bets that we've done on the live bet stream now, 11-5 on our live bets. But the pregame action, got to get to the black. I'm 34-32 at 51.5%. I'm down 1.42 units, ROI minus 2.15%, average line minus 110. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity that we have today. Goran Nikovsky in the house. Thank you for joining us. We got Dougie Wise, Al Cervic. There is Birdie. The Clark Edge says, what up, guys? Last week, the show helped 4-1 Sunday. Great job, Clark Edge. G. Martinez, Terry Walker. Great to see all you guys. There's Wine Time Sports in the house. Thank you guys for joining us. So, Troy, you're back, baby. Let's get to work. Let's get this cash. Are you ready to roll into game 1?
Let's get it.
Let's do it. We start on a very interesting Thursday nighter. 8:15 p.m. Eastern. San Francisco 49ers 2-3, 0-2 on the road at Seattle Seahawks 3-2, 2-1 at home. We're in Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. 60 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 mile per hour winds. Let's get into the line history first, and then we'll drop X's and O's. We're going to be using Pinnacle line moves here. Pinnacle has the 49ers minus 3.5 at plus 101. This opened up minus 3.5, minus 104 at Pinnacle, but there were threes available. If you wanted a 3, you could get it, even though Pinnacle didn't open it up 3.5. We had Mel in our chat saying, bet the San Francisco 49ers right now, bet the 49ers right now. And I couldn't do it. I'm very uncomfortable with the injury situation, with everything that's going on with the 49ers. And I not that I didn't agree with Mel, but I just wanted to sit with it for a little bit and cap it fully. So we're sitting here with a live line right now of -3.5 at even money, and it opened up at Pinnacle -3.5, -104. So we've had 4 cents of movement at the 3.5 number towards the Seattle Seahawks. On the total, here we have a 47.5. It's -108 to the over. It opened up at 47. We've gone up a half point to 47.5. When we get over to the cash flow, which I thought I had, I'm certain I have up somewhere, but I can't find it right now with all these things open. Let me just move and open up a new one. Cash flow here for the Thursday nighter. We have 61% of the tickets and 63% of the cash on the San Francisco 49ers. On the total, you have 76% of the tickets and 73% on the over. So let's roll. 49ers red zone offense has been bad. 29th in the NFL, 40.9%. That's when we really see no Christian McCaffrey. Red zone defense, 16th in the league at 53.3%. So their red zone ability is being poor thus far this year, and it shows with their 2-3 record, and they haven't won on the road yet, 0-2 on the road. Their third down offense is 5th in the league at 46.6%, but their third down defense, 22nd in the league at 43.3%. They come in off their third loss in 4 games, 24-23 at home versus the Cardinals. I got in live on the Cardinals at +12.5 as well. It's a very, very nice score, fading my team. They lost their kicker, Jake Moody, to a high ankle sprain with 5 minutes to go in the fourth. It heavily affected it wasn't the fourth, was it? I don't know why I wrote that. That was earlier than that. But it heavily affected the game strategy. They have since signed veteran kicker Matthew Wright. You guys remember Matthew Wright? He kicked for the Steelers, Jags, Chiefs, Panthers. In his career, he's 40 of 47 on field goal attempts, 35 of 37 on extra points. The 49ers put up 384 total yards. Yards not being their problem. They're moving the ball comfortably. But 1 for 6 in the red zone ultimately cost them the game. They only managed 1 offensive touchdown as well. That other touchdown came in on a blocked field goal return. They were shut out in the second half. Marked the second time this season that San Francisco blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter versus a division rival. We saw them do that week 3 against the LA Rams. The Niners lost 1 division game the past 2 seasons. 1. Troy won. They won NFC West titles both those years. They're 0-2 already this year. They have 6 blowing double-digit leads in the fourth quarter in the regular season and playoffs under Coach Kyle Shanahan, and people are going to start talking about it. We've talked about it a lot come playoff time, but it just keeps happening, and it keeps happening to Shanahan. He is the most famous falling apart situations in NFL history with the Falcons in the Patriots Super Bowl. Brock Purdy finished 19 of 35 for 244 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. He also ran 4 times for 33 yards. Brandon Ayuk had a monster game, 8 passes for 147 yards. George Kittle caught 8 for 64, and there was no one else other than Jordan Mason, who's doing great, but the rest of the team combined for 3 catches for 33 yards. Jordan Mason ran 14 times for 89 yards, caught a 9-yard pass. He did lose a fumble. The defense held the Cardinals to 3 of 10 on third down and 1 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush was very quiet. Just 1 Leonard Floyd sack, 2 quarterback hits. Now, Bosa had 4 tackles, 2 for a loss, and an interception that he returned for 30 yards. Talanoa Hufanga hurt his wrist. He's not practiced this week, and this is a beat-up group. We know there's no CMC. We know Ricky Pearsall hasn't started the year after getting shot. And defensively, they were without linebacker Dre Greenlaw, defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, defensive end Gross Matos, and cornerback Ambry Thomas. Let's talk about the Seahawks. Red zone offense, 10th in the league, 63.6%. Red zone defense, 11th in the league, 47.4%. Their third down offense, 19th in the league at 37.3%. Third down defense, 9th in the league at 32.4%. Seahawks coming off their second straight loss after starting 3-0, falling to the Giants at home 29-20. And it was an ugly performance. You know, who cares that they were lining up for the game-time field goal and it got blocked? I mean, I shouldn't say who cares, but they were outgained 420 to 333. The Giants had 24 first downs compared to the Seahawks with just 15. The Giants deserved to win that football game. Geno Smith, 28 of 40 for 284 yards and a touchdown, also ran 4 times for 72 yards. To lead the rushing attack is Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet combined for 7 carries for 30 yards. That's it. after Kenneth Walker had the monster game versus the Lions, didn't follow it up here. Now, they did combine to catch 10 passes for 76 yards, so it wasn't like they were invisible. The offensive line is beat up. They failed to protect Smith. He was sacked 7 times. Lockett led receivers 4 catches, 75 yards. DK Metcalf caught 4 for 55, but he did lose a fumble. The offense was just 3 for 11 on third down and 0-2 on fourth down. You lose those football games. They only made 1 trip to the red zone. The defense struggled throughout. The Giants went 7-16 on third down and held the ball for 37 and 22 minutes. That's without Malik Neighbors and without Devin Singletary. The only saving grace for the Seahawks was they held the Giants to 1-4 in the red zone. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. Outside linebacker Uchenna Nwosu injured his thigh in the first half. He was ruled out at halftime. He was making his season debut after missing the first 4 weeks with a knee sprain. He missed most of last season with a torn pectoral muscle, and he's out this week. Nwosu's not coming back. Seattle cornerback Reek Woolen in and out with this ankle injury that he suffered in the first half, and Derek Hall injured his foot in the fourth quarter. So Derek Hall is not going to be there on Thursday. Boye Mafe not going to be there. Reek Woolen not going to be there. Byron Murphy not going to be there. He's not back from his hamstring injury either. These are 2 beat-up football teams, Troy. Do you have an angle? Take it away.
Let's see if we can get there. I'm kind of leaning with some people in the chat. It's hard to measure some of these performances in the NFL this season. Seattle goes from dropping 30 on the line, setting the record for number of first downs, to laying a complete egg against New York Giants in Seattle. And they held the Hawks to 3 of 11 on third down, friggin' 20 points. And we kind of it was a sandwich spot, in my notes last week, it was a sandwich spot. I thought they'd be looking ahead. I just didn't think it'd be that flat of a performance. Geno Smith at one point was starting to earn my respect, what he's been able to do with this awful offensive line. It's just every year in, year out, he's behind these guys who cannot block. The O-line is 28th in pass block this season, and they're definitely not helping Geno Smith out. They have 2 of the worst offensive linemen in the NFL going out there right now with Bradford and Forsyth. They're both on the right side of the offensive line. As long as if you could balance it out a little bit, spread the scrubs along the line, put them on the same side, you can't avoid it. And, Geno's been resilient in the face of pressure, especially if you look at some of the advanced metrics, but this guy still has major faults. I mean, he struggles to take advantage of what the defense gives him. I feel like he gets way too anxious out there. And one of the metrics that stuck out to me as I'm looking through this week is he struggles to sustain long drives. The Seahawks are 31st in red zone attempts per game. So either they're striking from long distance or they're not even getting into the red zone. That number kind of surprised me. And I always thought this defense was severely overrated this season. They're still, per PFF, 7th in yards per play, or they're 7th in yards per play, 4th per PFF. But that's heavily skewed to the first games against the Broncos, the Pats, and the Dolphins. And to be honest, I really never understood the hype behind the Seahawks team. I talked down about this team for 2 years now. And the 49ers, I mean, they definitely have their problems. They're off that pretty embarrassing loss. They were extremely lucky to be in the position they were in. And to just fold like they did, it was so surprising. They were dealing with all that noise in the offseason between injuries, shootings, the holdouts. I do expect this team to trend back to the 2023 version of the San Francisco 49ers. But the difference between the 2 years, you said it, the first one is the loss of CMC. I think that's why they can't perform in the red zone. They can't put away games like they're used to. And even when CMC's out there, I know they have a history of losing some of these devastating falling apart late in games, but still, him out of the offense is definitely having a major impact. They have to figure it out. I think Shanahan's the right guy to do that, but they can't generate pressure on the QB. I think that's the other thing that's completely different from years past. And we'll see how that develops, but I will tell you this, home dogs at 3.5 are teams I want to fade in that price range. They have not performed well, regardless of how the line has moved. And if you look in division, even more specifically at the 3.5 dogs at home, they have not performed well. So I'm looking towards San Francisco 49ers. And, given all the data points we've had in the season, I think this line should be more like 2.5, 1.5, around that range. And seeing it at 3.5 like this, I think it's a little bit telling. I'm leaning towards the Niners. I might get there.
Birdie made an interesting point on our live stream last night. The hottest temperature-wise game in the history of Levi's Field in Santa Clara. And we saw a similar heat situation in week 4 in Tampa. The Eagles had the week off, bye week following it, but Tampa played the following week, and in the second half, they broke down. It was 98 Fahrenheit on the field for the 49ers, and now they have to play again on Thursday night. Birdie was saying he was looking to fade the 49ers in the second half. What do you think about this defense for the 49ers that's dealing with injuries? And I get what Dougie Wise is saying. Dougie Wise in the chat saying, the injuries of Seattle might be enough to get me on the Niners. Their injuries are far worse. Pretty undefeated against the Hawks, 5-0 career, including 1-0 in the playoffs. What do you think about the San Francisco 49ers defense playing in 98 Fahrenheit, looking gassed in the second half, and then playing 4 days later? Is that involved in your thought process capping this game? Do you think that they might be vulnerable? Would that lead you to moving to an over? How do you handle that?
I don't necessarily take it into account. And I could be proven wrong, and I'll definitely switch my line of thinking if I had some numerical quantitative data that says, hey, teams after playing in extremely hot index the following week, they fall apart, especially early in the week if they're playing on a short week. I'd like to see those numbers if somebody has them. But I don't take that into account. I mean, these guys come off the field. These are the best athletes in the world, surrounded by the best training staffs and the most, they have all the money they need to take care of these guys. They come off the field, they get IVs, they get in the ice bath. Within a few days, they're in much better shape. And the Bucs, I know that they fell apart in the second half, but their defense was never really there, never really in that game. Their offense was rolling. They should have definitely won that game, if not covered that game. It was a tragedy not to get that money because I was on the Bucs too. But that doesn't come into my handicap. No, but it does. I mean, I still think the over is definitely live in this game where it currently is.
I do too. I don't see defense getting stops here.
The problem is I was looking towards the over because, I look at these short home dogs, but, less than a touchdown. And I always like to bet the unders in those games. So I was actually trying to get to an under in this game. And I've seen the Seahawks at home line moving towards the under was even a favorable situation. But the general market at this current number at 47 and a half, it's just, I don't feel very strongly about it.
The Ravens-Bengals game opened at the 50 or a 50.5. We talked about that being too high for a divisional game. Watched it go down to 48.5. Those two teams have not been defending well, and it soars over. Now, this one is not moving to the under, but if this was last year or 2 years ago, you give me a 47 and the Niners Seahawks, I'm all over the under. But there's some real issues with both defenses, and I'm interested in the over. I don't like saying it. I don't want to be on an over on a Thursday nighter. I don't want to be on a primetime over, even though that last night was the first primetime Monday night under of the year. It was 6-0 to the overs. So, but I'm with you. I think points are going to be scored in this game. Gerald Jones says my line is San Francisco -3.5. Well, that's where we're at. G. Martinez says Niners will win this. They'll be first in the NFC West. They will get it done. I looked at the Niners futures at 2-3, 0-2 on the road with all these injuries and CMC maybe not coming back, or who knows when he's going to come back. And they're still 7.5 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's nuts to me.
That's the exact indicator to me that they're going to trend back towards 2023.
Yeah, but do you think CMC needs to be on the field for them to do that? Because it's a lot different defending Jordan Mason than is defending Christian McCaffrey, even though Jordan Mason is putting up superlative numbers.
Yeah, he's not a Swiss Army knife like CMC is. Nobody's like CMC is. He's the one back in the league. There's a few, right? But he's definitely one head and shoulders above everybody else. That makes a difference.
I'm very interested in the over. I'm not sure if I get there. I'm trying to kind of stay away from the Thursday totals, the overs on Thursdays, but these defenses seem beaten. Is there anything you're making official for our Thursday nighter at this point?
No, not right now. I will be posting my action on this game. I'm definitely going to be looking towards the Niners side in this game. Maybe it is first half. Like I might be siding with Birdie on that one.
Let's roll on to our next spot on the board. Sunday, October 30th, we are back at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England, for a Jacksonville Jaguar team that has a lot of history playing in London. They're there for 2 weeks, playing the Chicago Bears here. It's going to be dry. on Sunday, at least at this point. 57 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We'll start with the total. I got the total up right now. It's at 44, minus 117 to the over. This opened up at 43. When it opened up at 43, the first move was towards the under. There was an 11-cent move on the under from Sunday night at 7:33 p.m. to Monday morning at 11:19 a.m. Then it moved to the over, and it was a pretty big move. Not only did it move from 43 up to 44, but that 44 was at minus 120. So it was a big move at that point. So we've gone a point up from 43 to 44, and that's juiced at minus 117. You see a lot of 44 and a halves on the board here. From a spread perspective here, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 2.5 at minus 107. They opened up at plus 2 and moved to 2.5. So there's been a half-point move towards the Chicago Bears, and that makes sense to me. Let's get into the cash flow here. We have 79% of tickets and 80% of cash on Jacksonville. And on the spread, we have 90% of the tickets and 67% of the cash on the Chicago Bears. Bears are, attracting 9 of every 10 tickets thus far. Let's talk about the Jags red zone. Their statistics are bad. Red zone offense, 24th in the league at 44.4%. Red zone defense, 30th in the league at 70.6%. Third down offense, 30th in the league at 25.9%. Third down defense, 25th in the league at 44.1%. Rant says this Jaguars defense is terrible, and they certainly are terrible. Terrible. But Sammy Comer coming in here on Jags money line. I can understand when you see 90% of the tickets on one side that would be appealing. Now, it has moved a half point towards the Bears, so that is something. Let's talk about these Jaguars. They've been coming to London as part of the series every year for 11 years. The first time they came, they started coming each year was 2013. 6-5 straight up, 6-5 against the spread. Shahid Khan was thinking of moving to the Jaguars to London, right? He was trying to buy Wembley Stadium. So they come to UK every year, and they've done okay there. They're coming off their first victory of the season, a 37-34 triumph at home versus the Colts. On his 25th birthday, Trevor Lawrence was 28-34 for 371 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. The Jags offense put up 497 total yards, 8.7 yards per play. Brian Thomas Jr. looked great. 5 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. Christian Kirk caught 4 passes for 88 yards. Tank Bigsby has taken over the RB1 spot from Etienne. 13 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also caught a 28-yard pass. Despite all the success on offense, they continue to struggle on third down. It's interesting. Just 3 of 10 on third down. They were 2 of 4 in the red zone. So, they were moving the ball, but still not moving the ball when it was all important on third down. The defense did not look good. They allowed the Colts with their backup quarterback, backup running back, and backup center to put up 447 total yards and go 7-14 on third down. Colts scored 24 points in the fourth quarter alone. Trayvon Walker had a big game. 3 of the Jags, 4 sacks. Colts went 3 of 5 in the red zone. Then we have the Chicago Bears. Red zone offense, 11th in the league at 61.5%. Red zone defense, 5th at 38.5%. Third down offense, 23rd at 33.8%. That is improving. And their third down defense, 3rd at 28.6%. Third down defense, very good. Red zone defense, very good. They did receive the bad news at safety. Jaquan Brisker's in concussion protocol and is not traveling with the team to London. Left guard Tevin Jenkins, also questionable with a rib issue and an ankle injury, but he is traveling with the team to London. Bears go into their bye week after this UK game. They have played twice in the UK. They beat the Bucs in 2011, and they lost to the Raiders in 2019. And they left on Monday. Smart. I think that's the time to go. I think that makes sense to leave on Monday. They come in off their most impressive victory of the young season. They defeated the lowly Panthers at home 36-10, outgained the Panthers 424 to 292, had 24 first downs. The Panthers only had 14. Caleb Williams, 20 of 29 for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He also ran 5 for 34. DJ Moore caught 5 for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. And DeAndre Swift, a second strong game, ran 21 times for 73 yards and a touchdown, caught 2 passes for 47 yards. They were 3 of 4 in the red zone. Despite the strong offensive game, here's another team that struggles on third down. They just went 4 of 11 on third down. They put up 424 total yards, and still their third down offense, 23rd in the league. That is not changed. Even when they have successful games, they struggle on third down. Now, their pass rush, their defense was strong again. Their pass rush had 4 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. They held the Panthers to just 3 of 12 on third down. Their red zone defense continues to be very good. They held the Panthers to 0 for 2. Kevin Byard had an interception. That's his 29th of his career. And I know this is not a home game, but they have now extended their longest current home winning streak in the NFL to 8 games. That's their best stretch at Soldier Field since they won 10 in a row from 2005 to 2006. They're winning these games at home, even when the offense does nothing. They're winning games at home. Now, this one doesn't count for a home game, even though they are considered the home team. Take it away for us, Troy. NFL London, Jacksonville, Chicago Bears, 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, October 13th.
I never thought I'd have a max bet on the Chicago Bears until I seen that line, how it was reacting against the Panthers. And I personally believe that there's so much to like about this team right now. I talked about this defense being vastly underrated from the very first time, the very first Bankroll Blitz, V1 of the season. I think they have the best secondary in the NFL. The D-line has overperformed. Maybe they do have some regression in their future. And losing Brisker, him not traveling is a big deal, right? I mean, I think he's their best defender, if you ask me. So him being off the field definitely doesn't help, but they're very deep in the secondary. And I think they'll be able to still hold their own, even without Brisker. And on offense, obviously, this is where there's huge upside. We see the progression that's going on with the Chicago Bears, with Caleb Williams, with everybody on the offense. The offensive line seems to be more in sync. Now, I know we're talking about – I don't want to overreact against one game against the Panthers, but I think it's great for confidence for this team to build morale and to have some belief that, hey, we can get the job done. Especially for a young quarterback who struggled like Caleb Williams has through the season so far. It's huge for him, man. And I think the Jags are on the other end of the spectrum. They haven't met any expectations from the preseason. I know they had this win, but they were lucky to hold on, as somebody was pointing out in the chat. The offense and defense is 25th or below, according to PFF, and many advanced metrics. Their offense has been uptrending over the past few weeks. We've seen better play from Trevor Lawrence. And, I think at running back, they're starting to uncover what Tank Bigsby can be in the league. But this is still a very bad offensive line. I mean, they're right there with the Seahawks. This is just something I continue to harp on because they haven't invested anything into this offensive line. It's still a travesty. Their strong suit on defense is their ability to stop the run. But that's not that big of a deal because the Bears really can't run the football anyway. Even though Swift, he's come a long way. He actually made some plays and, maybe went above his yards per expectation this past week. Ultimately, I think the Bears are a buy until further notice. With this type of defense, a defense that I believe in, and an offense that I think has potential upside that still could be undervalued in the market, I'm only looking to back the Bears in this situation. I like that the Jags got their first win last week, and I think this Jags defense is Swiss cheese, man. Give me the Bears. I bet them at -2, -110. And if you can, I didn't post it yet, so you could. What would happen if you bought me down to a 2 right now, Jim?
Let's find out. While we're going through this, does the 90% of the tickets on the Bears concern you at all?
Absolutely. The 90% of the tickets on the Bears concerns me, but I think that the line opening where it did was even telling. I mean, this is the Jags' home field pretty much. I mean, they went 2-0 out there last year. They're very familiar with the field. The fact that the Bears, who I don't know how the public perceives them, maybe after smacking the Panthers, that's what we're seeing, 90% of the tickets. But, I mean, who's betting it? Who's betting on Tuesday? Not many public individuals are betting on Tuesday. So I don't know how much I read into the market right now, especially the cash flow situation, because it varies so drastically from where we sit today. Go back and check these numbers on Sunday morning. You're going to see a completely different story.
We can get you that -2 and -112, so it's not costly at all.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So let's just quickly take 1 second to go over what we've seen from the Bears in their road games, because I look, I'm not going to bet the Jags under any circumstances. None. I can, comfortably, confidently say that that will not be happening. But I just wonder if this is a spot to sell the Bears high. They looked very, very good. It was a huge celebration. They dominate in front of their home fans. Caleb Williams looked spectacular. But can he revert back to that quarterback that lost 19-13 at the Texans, that lost 21-16 at the Colts. Does that
Absolutely he could. Those are the only 2 road games. He did not play good in those games. He threw for 300 yards, completely misleading metric right there. But we're looking at a defense in the Chicago Bears that's top 5 in the NFL, and the Jags, who are potentially the worst defense in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust the Bears defense to win me this game. It's a 2-point spread. We're not talking about covering a big number. Win by a field goal. I did consider that, Jim. It definitely concerns me. He hasn't played well on the road yet. So we'll see this week. I think they continue to uptrend.
Well, I'm going to need more time with this market. I'm sure you want to see that 3 and strong 3 here, as you've already moved on the -2. We'll give you the -2 at -112. Are you going to get bullish on this? You want money line too? Do you want anything else on top of that?
No, I don't think I'm going to be adding that much more to this position. Just the 2.
All right, Nick on Jaguars money line. Mac Beaver saying Bear safety Brisker out. That's a big loss. Harold Williams says London games are different for the Jags. Birdie says, where was that? I had Birdie's comment here. He said, why would you not bet the Jags? And the answer to that is their defense is why you wouldn't bet the Jags. Even though their offense is coming together, it's their defense looks so bad. I'm going to need time to sit with this. This one, Sammy Calmer on the Jags money line. This one,
I'll ask a good question. Will we say Chicago is a better QB and a better D? Definitely a better D.
Definitely a better D.
The better QB, I'm not sold on that yet. I would still take Trevor Lawrence in a 1-game sample.
Absolutely. If we were playing 1 game this Sunday for it all, and you could have either quarterback, you'd have to take. I believe you'd have to take Trevor Lawrence at this point. Yeah, but that may not be the case in 6 weeks.
But I'm saying the gap with the defense is bigger than the gap at the quarterback position.
Absolutely. Troy on the Bears -2 at -112. And then we have a young Bears team that's not used to, going overseas, where we have a Jaguars team that does it each and every year. Very, very, very interesting situation. Let's roll on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, we have the Arizona Cardinals, 2-3, 1-1 on the road at the Green Bay Packers, 3-2, 1-1 at home. We're at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, starting to get a little cooler, 54 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, and 16-mile-per-hour winds. 16-mile-per-hour winds at this point. Now, obviously, that can change. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have these Arizona Cardinals right now at that number that our guy Troy Torrence likes to attack. It's a 5.5. Now, it didn't start at 6 or 6.5 and come down into the 5.5. It opened up at +5.5 -111 and closed +5.5 -106, which reminds me sort of. Now, I'll check Bet Online, but it reminds me of the Saints-Chiefs game, which the Saints were staying around that number, but it hadn't come down from the 6 or 6.5. When we get to Bet Online and see if they started this, did they open this up at 6? Did anybody open this up? No, they opened this up at 5.5 -110, and it's not moved a cent. In fact, the Bet Online opened this up at 5.5 at -110 back on October 1st. And it's not moved in 7 days. So that's where we go with the side. We have the 5.5. And then on that total, we are sitting with a very large 49.5 or 50 or flat 50. This did open up at 50.5. It opened up at 50.5 on Tuesday night at 7:36 p.m. So it's dropped a point since then from 50.5 to 49.5. Let's get into the cash flow for this one. We have these Cardinals with 62% of the tickets and 56% of the cash, 62 and 56. And then on the total, 73% tickets, 81% cash on the over. Excuse me. And again, this is dropping. Let's go. We'll start with the Cardinals. Red zone offense, 9th in the league, 64.3%, being very impressive. Their red zone defense, 18th in the league, at 54.6%. Third down offense, 13th in the league at 40.7%. And this Arizona Cardinal third down defense is really bad. 30th in the league, allowing first downs on 47.3% of the time. The Cardinals snapped their 2-game losing streak and bounced back from their 42-14 home loss versus the Commanders by defeating their NFC West rival, the 49ers in San Francisco, 24-23. Kyler Murray finished 19 of 30 for 195 yards, a touchdown, and a pick and ran 7 times for 83 yards and a touchdown. 8 different receivers caught passes, led by Michael Wilson, caught 5 for 78, and Trey McBride caught 6 for 53. It's good to have him back in the lineup. And James Conner just continues to deliver, 19 carries for 86 yards, caught 2 for 16. They struggled on third down, just 3 of 10, which, has not been an issue for them. Their third down offense, 13th in the league. But they struggled on third down, 3 of 10, and also were just 1 of 3 in the red zone. But the defense was stout. It was stout. They were facing just a litany of questions after allowing 42 points at home to the Commanders. They shut the 49ers out in the second half and only allowed 1 offensive touchdown all game. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. They got interceptions from Kaiser White and Mac Wilson, and they held the Niners to 1 of 6 in the red zone. Now, we know that the Niners couldn't kick field goals for a chunk of that. And right guard Will Hernandez left in the fourth quarter and didn't return, and they think he's done for the season. That's not been confirmed yet, but they think it's a serious issue. Then let's talk about these Packers. Red zone offense, 18th in the league at 50%. Red zone defense, 21st in the league at 61.1%. Third down offense, 20th in the league at 37.1%. And their third down defense, 13th in the league at 35.6%. I don't think we should get too caught up in the red zone offense and third down offense because a lot of that was with Malik Willis. Even though we all like what he did, he doesn't have the high-octane, high ceiling that Jordan Love has. Panthers coming off a 24-19 victory at the Rams. They struggled at times offensively. They were outgained 370 to 323. And this was the thing that caught me. They were 1 of 8 on third down. Just 1 of 8 on third down. Jordan Love, 15 of 26 for 224 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. That interception was his first career pick six. His first pick six came on his 761st career pass. But he bounced back. He shows character, this kid. Shows a ton of character. Anytime he makes a mistake, he comes back and delivers. He completed 9 straight passes after that interception. Tucker Kraft caught 4 for 88 and 2 touchdowns. Jaden Reed caught 4 for 78, ran twice for 19. Josh Jacobs ran 19 times for 73 yards and touchdown, caught a 21-yard pass. They went 2 of 3 in the red zone. But the Rams were able to convert third downs against this defense, 8 of 16. Now, in saying that, the Rams only averaged 4.9 yards per play. So it wasn't like the Rams were getting whatever they wanted. The pass rush was strong, 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and Xavier McKinney, good God, another interception. That's the 5th game in a row to start his Packer career that he's had an interception. And he also recovered a fumble. He's the first player since the 1970 merger with an interception in each of his first 5 games for the team. And then Green Bay was fortunate that they didn't leave the game with any new significant injuries. They're still worried about Jair Alexander's injury. He missed last week's game. He's listed as questionable again this week. They say that they don't believe his leg issues are anything too significant, so you want to keep an eye on if he's going to be in the lineup. Take it away for us here, Troy. Cardinals, Packers. Chase J says the infamous 5.5 line says dogs are live, though most recent study would be Chiefs disproving that. Then again, Derek Carr is Derek Carr. Man Bear Pig says Cardinals getting so much disrespect, and I love it. Plus money's week after week, says our guy. And Al Cervic says McVay's D is a different beast. At home, I think Green Bay freight trains these guys. Take it away for us here, Troy. Cardinals, Packers.
There was a call in that game last night. There was a call in the Chiefs game last night that absolutely flipped my expectation on the spread. I thought we were covering the entire game until a defensive holding call on Granderson for absolutely no reason at all. Surprise. In this matchup, typically I would like to fade the average team in the Arizona Cardinals, who are going on the road after winning on the road against a divisional opponent as 7-point dogs. It's a typical fade spot, and especially with a guy like Kyler Murray, who's proven that he always has these down spots after beating a divisional opponent. It definitely shows in his history. But the problem is, I love how this Cardinals offense matches up with the Green Bay defense. Exploit the Green Bay run D with Kyler Murray and James Conner. They've proven to be a force this season. Green Bay struggles to defend mobile quarterbacks. This is 2 seasons in a row, one of the worst teams DVOA in the league. And I think it's because they run a bunch of stunts on the defensive line, which they make a lot of plays, but that also allows a lot more running lanes and allows quarterbacks to break contain at a much higher rate, especially a guy like Kyler Murray. I think that should be a concern if you're looking to back Green Bay. And this defense is predicated on zone coverage. Kyler Murray and this receiving core, much better grades versus zone coverage. Kyler Murray with 8% big time throw rate. That's the highest in the NFL. I understand, like, the Cardinals defense is definitely nothing to write home about. Bottom 5 in the NFL. But this number just seems too big for this Packers team, who just went into Los Angeles against the Rams, and they struggled to convert on third down. Jimmy talked about all their struggles that they had. Even though they won and covered that game, I was on them. I was on both these teams. But I think that this might be a matchup nightmare. And somebody was talking about the wind situation. If there's going to be high winds, 15, 20 mile an hour winds, I think 16. That favors that's going to favor the Cardinals and what they want to do. And the last point, Chase J called it out, not to mention this line opened at -5. And I think that suggests weakness towards the favorite, especially at home. After backing both these teams in week 5, this is clearly a Cardinals or nothing spot. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there off that massive divisional win.
Yeah, back-to-back road games. And we've talked about teams after they face the 49ers getting beaten up. Now, maybe that's not the same thing this year with some of the injuries to the 49ers defense. And, we've been seeing that when teams play the Lions, and Birdie's been making a big point of that, how vulnerable they are after playing the Lions.
They just get beat down for freaking 60 minutes.
But do we think that 49ers defense, with where it stands now, is still that vicious, difficult defense that's going to beat you up and leave you battered after the game? Because if I agree with you, there's a reason why. That's the reason why I'm not already on the Cardinals. I was on them last week. You
got me there, Jimmy.
It was great. It was great. And I got to 12.5 live. I believed in it the whole time. It didn't concern me. I mean, it concerned me a little bit, but only that I thought I should bet it again. Leonard Welch in the house. Nice to see you. Leonard says Arizona team total over 22.5 for him. Rance thinking the backdoor covers in play. LJ from H-Town says love 2 or more touchdown passes in 9 games in a row here. So, Birdie says I would caution at previous defensive tendencies, entirely new DC and system. Drew L saying Green Bay a playoff team. That's sure. But can they cover here at home? A little uncomfortable for me in this one. So we roll on. Is it nothing official then at this point for you? And what do you think of this total dropping a point to 49.5 with the high wind and the public betting the over at this point?
Totals this high, I could see both teams having success on the ground. So at one point, if you think both offenses are going to be efficient, it makes you lean to the over. But if it's a ground game that's going to be efficient, it's like that clock could be moving. 50 is a high total. I'm not betting an over 50 in the NFL. I'm just not doing it. I would go under a pass.
I do have some interest in that under. Especially if we think that the Packers' run defense is part of their vulnerability, and we know what Connor and Kyler Murray can do. And then you have the red zone defenses that are marginal, but the Packers red zone offense, again, I don't want to put too much into that because Malik Willis is a big part of all of that. All right, I'm interested in the under. I'm interested in the Cardinals. And I find the under would be a closer spot for me to bet here. Birdie saying he's going to be playing the Cardinals first half Cardinals there, because the Cardinals, of course, were in that very hot football game, 98 Fahrenheit. So he's banking on their defense to be tired in the second half. We will see if that happens. Oh my God, Drew in the house. Thank you for joining us. Gerald Jones saying Arizona back-to-back road spot. We roll on. Next up for us, we have 1 p.m. Eastern action at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Indianapolis Colts 2-3, yet to win on the road at the Tennessee Titans 1-3, 0-2 at home. These Titans coming in off of their bye week, and these Colts here on the road, 82 Fahrenheit, sunny, 11 miles per hour. Their red zone offense 13th in the league at 61.1%. Red zone defense 24th at 64.7%. Their third down offense, 12th in the league at 41.7%. Their third down defense has been really bad, and we've seen it. Their red zone defense bad. Their third down defense even worse at 46.7%. Chosen one looking at the Colts money line. Let's get into those lines right now. This total is sitting right now at 43.5. It's juiced to the under. This opened up at 42 though, so we've come up 1.5 on the point spread. These Colts at Pinnacle are -1 at +101. We'll probably get a better idea of what's going on if we just go to the money line. So let's go to the money line here, and we have Indianapolis at -106. They opened up -103, so we've just had a 3-cent move towards the Indianapolis Colts. Let's get into the cash flow. We have 90% of the tickets and 85% of cash on the over, 90 and 85. On the spread, we have 93% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on the Colts. And on the money line, we have 90% of the tickets and 99% of cash on the Colts. Now, we're only talking about 4,659 tickets, and we probably end up at 500,000 tickets, but the line is not moving in that direction of the Colts with all the cash and tickets and everything on them. Colts coming off a 37-34 loss at Jacksonville, dealing with just injuries everywhere. Most concerning is their defense. So we know that defensive tackle DeForest Buckner's on the IR. We have defensive end Kwity Paye and quarterback Kenny Moore out of the lineup the last 2 weeks. List is questionable this week. And with those three studs out, their defense was torched. The Jags put up 497 yards and 8.7 yards per play. The pass rush was nowhere. I mean, nowhere. I mean, 0 sacks and 0 quarterback hits. On offense, their starting quarterback Anthony Richardson missed the game, but Joe Flacco has been excellent in his absence. They also didn't have Ryan Kelly, their starting center, for the second week in a row. Flacco, 33 of 44 for 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 3 times for 22 yards and lost a fumble. He has been nothing short of spectacular. 7.5 quarters since Richardson went down. He's 49 of 70 for 527 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no picks. And he's doing it without the team starting center. Just cool Joe Flacco. Steichen has said that Richardson's the team's starting quarterback. He'll return to that role as soon as he's healthy. Alec Pierce caught 3 balls for 134 yards. Josh Downs caught 9 for 69. And Jonathan Taylor missed the game with a sprained ankle. It's a high ankle sprain. Generally takes 4 to 6 weeks of recovery. Taylor said that it's not as bad as a sprained ankle he had in 2022. I think he missed like 6 weeks or something when he had that one. But we don't expect him to be in the lineup, so we expect Troy Sermon to be RB1. He had 10 carries for 38 yards and caught 6 for 25. The offense went 7 of 14 on third down, 3 of 5 in the red zone, and they lost their right guard, Will Fries. He broke his right leg in the third quarter. Might be Freeze. I forget how they pronounce his name, but he was carted off the field, leg in the air, broke his right leg, done for the season. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans here. Red zone offense, 17th in the league at 54.6%. Their defense is so good. I mean, their red zone defense, 7th in the league, 42.9%. Their third down defense is 2nd in the league. Opposing offenses are converting third downs 27.5% of the time against this defense. Now, their third down offense is very bad at 29th in the league at 27.7%. They coming off their bye week, the last scene, and their first win of the season, 31-12 victory at Miami in week 4. Mason Rudolph was at the helm for the victory, threw for 85 yards, 9 of 17 in relief of Will Levis, who attempted just 4 passes before injuring his right throwing shoulder on a scramble. Callahan says Levis back to normal practice schedule, preparing to be the starter. He has thrown 6 interceptions this year. Remember that this wasn't a problem for Levis, or a ridiculous problem for him last year. He only threw 4 in 9 starts as a rookie. He also has 3 fumbles. Tennessee's last in the NFL on takeaway margin. They have company now. Raiders are -7 as well. 2-time Pro Bowl defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons says that the ligament in his elbow doesn't need surgery. It would have been the Tommy John procedure that he would be looking for. He's going to work through it. He's expecting that it just needs a few more weeks to heal. But he will not be in the lineup, though. There have been a lot of changes to this squad over the last year, right? I mean, it's not a surprise that there was such a bumpy start. They fire Vrabel. They hire Callahan. And then their GM tries to put together this defense, but I mean, they had 12 new starters on Monday compared to last year. 12. 5 on offense, 7 on defense. They have LeJerry Sneed, and they have the first-time coordinator, Denard Wilson, who's doing a great job. The Titans lead the NFL in allowing 243.8 yards per game. They only allow 124 passing yards per game. Harold Landry has 4 sacks, but the offense is atrocious. Levis has been sacked 15 times. This offensive line, which we thought would be pretty good, right? They draft J.C. Latham, 7th overall at Alabama. They have Skoronski, was the 11th pick in 2023. They bring in the best center available on the market, Lloyd Cushenberry. They have Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. You know, I came so close to betting their season win total over. I almost bet it, you know, after they lost the first game, and I still, like, Levis's horrific display kept me off here. But I want them in this game. But I don't think I can bet them. I can't have money and watch little Will Levis, you know, throw across his body or, you know, not take care of the ball when the pass rush is coming at him. So, but I want the Titans. Take it away, Troy. Colts, Titans, Nissan Stadium, Nashville, Tennessee.
I'm right there with you. I want the Titans. But how do we know? Until we find out who's in, who's out, there's too many important variables to really develop an opinion for me. This injury report is just going to provide so much variance to what the spread ends up being. And especially even more so in this particular range. I mean, we're right around to pick them. This line could flip. There's so many variables, I think, that we need to figure out what's going on here. But I'm right there with you, man. My initial gut instinct was to look back the Titans to experience some more favorable regression because this team is much better than the record indicates. Look at how they play the 3-4 defense. So I went back and watched some more film on this Titans team because I actually got it wrong. I was on the Dolphins. I faded the Titans quite a bit this season. And I was on them against the Dolphins. I went back and looked at how they were using Arden Key and Landry on the edges on their outside backers. God, I believe in this defense. But the one thing that just surprises the shit out of me is the guy I speak so highly of, L'Jarius Sneed, is ranked right now per PFF 100th out of 101 DBs. And if you go back, if you watch the tape, he's getting cooked. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he needs to move in on the slot, into the slot position. I don't know, but I'm just going to sit tight, let the injury report impact this line, and then I'll cap it when all the variables are in place.
Would you be more comfortable to bet the Titans if Anthony Richardson's at quarterback for the Colts?
Absolutely. After watching what Flacco's been doing, and obviously I watched them all last year, I was backing them, pretty much every week. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a downgrade at quarterback. More to plan for, more to prepare for, but at the same time, you don't have to deal with actual talent at the quarterback position.
I want the Titans here out of the bye. They've cost me in week 1 and week 2. They've cost me. So, I mean, the watching them lose week 1 is tough a loss as I can remember. I mean, I've had worse, but like, good God, it just hurts so much. Down $600 backing them so far this year, but I want to back them again. I really, really like this Titans defense and rest advantage, and Colts coming off a 37-34, loss at Jacksonville, second consecutive road game.
You want to see this line move then, Jim, because, divisional home dogs of 1 or 1.5 or 3-9 ATS over the past 3 seasons. I'm just going to sit and wait. Hope this moves. I'd rather take the Titans -1, -1.5 after all the pieces are in place.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll be watching the line closely. Alex on Joe Flacco over a half interception. Titans money line. Tyjae Spears over receiving yards. That is the SGP for Alex. Gordon Ninkowski liking the Titans by 10+. Bullish on them. Chase J says Colts future bettors are going to be on an emotional roller coaster all year. Yes, I'm one of them. I have them to make the playoffs at +140. Do not like it at all. But if we get DeForest Buckner and Kwity Paye and Kenny Moore back, then I think they can go on a run. But let's see how far they're down. We roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Houston Texans 4-1, 1-1 on the road. The New England Patriots 1-4, 0-2 at home. Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, 59 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. I doubled up on the Patriots under first half and full game. I didn't bet it again live. That was a mistake. When it went 7-7, I was nervous. I was nervous. I ended up taking the Bills live instead. I got the Bills live at +8.5. And even that one, I could have got 11.5, 12.5, 13.5. But they both cashed. That game just stopped in its tracks, but there was a lot of mistakes made in that football game. Troy, you asked me if I was going back to the window with this, with the Patriots under, and I don't know who's going to be a quarterback for the Patriots. They've left that open this week, and I'll go over that a little bit with the quote unquotes, but I only want the unders because of Jacoby Brissett. I don't know what Drake May is going to do, and I'm not saying that it's I would be completely off it with Drake May, but I need to see him. I need to see him out there and sort of see the difference, and so that not being able to put together a proper script for this game has kept me off of moving on and under. But let's start with the point spread here. In this one, we have the Patriots +7 at -112. They opened up a +7 at -109. This +7 got up to -115, so there was a 6-cent move. Now 3 cents of movement. Let's get to the total then for this one. From a total perspective, we have a 38 at -112. This has dropped from 39. Look ahead was 41. Again, without knowing who's going to be a quarterback, I don't know how you can put together a proper script until you know what the hell's going on. If you're going to bet money, you want to have an angle that you're expecting. We have 90. Oh, that's the money line. Sorry. Let me just go to all markets. I'll make this easier. We have 90% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on the Texans on the spread, 90% of the tickets and 66% of cash on the over, but it keeps dropping. Nick says the Pats O-line is terrible. It is, Nick, but a lot of the injuries are, that it's based because of the injuries. I mean, you lose Dave Andrews for the season and more. We'll go over all those injuries. Let's start with the Texans, though. Red zone offense, strong, very strong, 69.2%. Red zone defense, 25th in the league at 66.7%. Their third down offense, very strong, 42.3%. Third down defense, 15th in the league, 36.4%. LJ from H-Town says Patriots have been scored 102-52 last 18 quarters, 11-5 to the under last 16. Houston comes in off an impressive 23-20 victory at home over the Bills. That was in doubt until Fairbairn kicked a 59-yard game-winning field goal as time expired. How they had the opportunity made no sense to me whatsoever. I was shocked to see McDermott make those mistakes, to throw 3 times, to give them the ball back with 7 seconds left. It was just shocking. It should have been more comfortable than it was, though. The Texans outgained the Bills 425-276. They led 20-3 early in the third quarter, for the Bills scored 17 straight and to tie it. They've tied it with 3.5 minutes left. CJ Stroud 20-38 for 331 yards, touchdown and an interception. He also ran 3 times for 27 yards. He did fumble. Stephon Diggs caught 8 for 82 against his former team, and Nico Collins caught 2 for 78 yards and a touchdown before injuring his hamstring after he scored a long touchdown here. So he's week to week. Do not expect him to be available here. Running backs, Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce still hurt. Akers was RB1. He ran 9 for 42 and a touchdown while he caught 2 passes for 5 yards. Ogunbowale ran 15 times for 30 yards, caught 6 passes for 57 yards. They were 8 of 16 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone, but their defense was strong throughout, held the Bills to just 3 of 14 on third down and 1 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush had just 1 sack, but had 9 quarterback hits, and Azeez Al-Shaair was so incredible. Now I know that Allen broke 4 runs, for like 50 yards or something, but Shaair, he had the spy on him, and I thought he did just a spectacular job. I was extremely impressed with him. 8 tackles for Shaair, 1 for a loss, 2 pass defense, and 2 quarterback hits. Jimmy Ward left in the second with a groin injury. We haven't had an update. He's not practicing, but we haven't had an update there. Let's talk about the Patriots. Red zone offense is the worst in the league, 32nd at 30.8%. Red zone defense, 16th in the league, 53.3%. Their third down offense is 24th in the league at 32.4%. And their third down defense is so bad. I did not see this coming, Troy. 27th in the league at 46.2%. They're coming off that ugly 15-10 loss at home to the Dolphins. Brissett 18 of 34 for 160 yards, no interceptions, no picks. And Gerard Mayo said, so the last few weeks he's immediately shut it down. He said, no, Jacoby Brissett is our number 1 right now. This week, on Monday, he said, look, whenever you start with look, you're uncomfortable with the situation. Look, we're still going through the, film from yesterday. We'll see how it goes. Non-committal for the first time. So do we expect a quarterback change? We need to know if there is a quarterback change. Demario Douglas had 6 receptions for 59 yards. He looks very dangerous. Ramondre Stevenson had 12 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown. Some butterfingers with Stevenson. He's taking a lot of heat. Gibson had 6 carries for 52 yards. They put up 299 total yards. It wasn't a complete disgrace offensively. Went 4 of 13 on third down, but the red zone's the worst in the league. They went 0-2 there. The defense tried to keep them in it. They held the Dolphins to 2 of 11 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Christian Gonzalez had an interception, but they lose their center David Andrews for the season. They lose their tackle Caden Wallace last week. Now, there are some good things. They did activate their safety Mapu off the injured reserve. They also activated receiver Kendrick Bourne, who will help. And then Sione Takataki. He's going to be designated to return from the reserve list on tomorrow. Will he be available to play? I don't know. But obviously, the Jabril Pepper is getting arrested on assault and battery, strangulation, possession of a Class B substance is not something fun hanging over the squad. Saturated says a bad offense that can't stay on the field is one of the best ways to kill a team's good defense. That's absolutely true. Birdie says, I want to know Mix and Pierce status. They would become even more important this week on the road with Collins out. Dell playing, but is he fully healthy? Houston offense gets very Patriot real fast. Take it away for us here, Troy. Fascinating game, Texans Patriots.
What do you think? Does Jabril Peppers, does he play this week?
No, I don't think he plays. No.
Well, I would like to see him in the game. If you look at the noise-adjusted score for the game between the Texans and the Bills, the Texans actually won that game. And outside of the first quarter, this Texans offense struggled. Nico Collins is going to be a huge miss. He's definitely the number one guy, looking like the best receiver in the league. And I doubt he plays this week. And that's just going to be a pain for this team, man. It's just going to be a growing pain. This seems to be too big of a number for this Texans team, who seem like they can't win by margin this season. They can't generate line yards on the offensive line, which limits their ability to run the ball. In this 2 straight seasons this has happened in, you could switch out the running back. Maybe it changes, maybe it doesn't. They're grading out well below average on defense this year, 20th per PFF. They're below 20th or below on pass rush coverage and run D, which is absolutely surprising. And I think watching CJ Stroud play football is a blessing. It's a blast to watch him play. And he's just so impressive. Just week in and week out, he's the ability to extend plays. The most efficient quarterback against the blitz this season. Delivers throws on target. 5% big-time throw rate. He could read coverages post-snap, but on the road, he gets significantly worse. His road numbers are not the same as his home numbers. He still makes plays, but he's not quite the quarterback he is in Houston. And I think, just look at all the advanced metrics. I don't think it's going to be as easy for him heading out to New England. I think that the quarterback change would only benefit me. I am on the Patriots +7. I texted you about that earlier today, and I did move on the under 38 in this game. I think that, the Patriots aren't bad. I think someone points it out in the chat. Was it saturated? A bad offense that can't stay on the field is one of the best ways to kill a team's good defense. I've been preaching that about the Browns. I believe that to be true with the Patriots as well. They are able to sustain some drives better than the Browns, but at the same time, when your defense is on the field that much, it's hard to be efficient. The biggest thing is home dogs in this price range have performed just incredibly well. The lower the total, the better it is. So I took the home dog. I got the 7, and I got the under 38 at -110.
Yeah, that 7's available right now, market wide. So I get it. I get it. And this is, we're gambling, and you take risks gambling. So the risk you're taking here is you want Drake May in the lineup, not necessarily because he'll do a better job, but he will bring some excitement to a team that has a dearth of it. Get some hope on the sidelines for a group, a new voice, some hope, some excitement. Then if it is Brissett, it's not like your +7's bad, but you're under 38's good. So as May would help the Patriots +7, I think you hurt slightly the under. But I get it. No, I get what you're doing. Londo saying under 38, easy money. He's on that. I'm going to need. I'm just not. I don't want to. I want to cut down which I've been doing successfully. And very close to the black now. And I just want to have a clear angle on why I'm risking money on a situation, and I'm gonna wait. And live vicariously through you, Troy. Patriots +7 and the under 38 in Houston, New England for Troy Torrance. We roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-2, 1-1 on the road at the New Orleans Saints, 2-3, 1-1 at home. We're at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Obviously, a ton of questions regarding the Saints because of Derek Carr's oblique injury. The MRI was today. I don't know when it was because there was no information at 3 or 4 o'clock about it. So, but it's Hainer or Radler who's going to most likely be at quarterback here. If anybody knows what's going on, please let me know what's going on with that MRI. Let's get into the line history here. Saints on a short week. Buccaneers defense looking very vulnerable. We have a total here. Well, Pinnacle, of course, they're not going to put it out. They're quite cautious in situations like this, but BetOnline is not. BetOnline will be first to the market. If you're looking for a new account at BetOnline, do it on our website and use our link Pub Sports, promo code Pub Sports, and they'll give you, if it's a new account, they'll give you a 100% bonus up to $1,000. It doesn't need to be Bitcoin. It can just be cash. This opened up at 44.5. It got up to 45. So, the 44.5 was the look ahead. The 45 was at 7 in the morning yesterday. Then it moved up to 45.5 11 minutes later. And then the floor dropped out. The floor dropped out of it. That was this morning. I guess maybe they pulled it during the game when Carr got hurt, but 42.5 when it arrived at 10:05 this morning with the expectation that Carr wasn't going to be available. Let's go into the point spread here for the Saints game. We have the Saints at +3.5 at -110. The look ahead, from last week was -3 for the Saints. Then at 10:05 this morning, when this line came back out, it was a +3. So a 6-point move with Carr. It seems a little much. Let's take a look at the cash flow here for this one. We have 51% of the tickets and 58% of cash on the Buccaneers. Interesting that people are still believing in the Saints squad. 86% of tickets and 92% cash on the over. So let's start with the Buccaneers. Their red zone offense, 13th in the league, 61.1%. The red zone defense, 12th at 47.6%. Red zone defense was something they excelled at the last couple of years, not this year. Their third down offense is actually very good, surprisingly 7th at 44.8%, but their third down defense, 18th in the league at 38.5%. That's another surprise. They're struggling defensively. They come in off extra rest and prep, though. Their defense did look awful in that 36-30 overtime loss at Atlanta. They were outgained 550 to 333. It was their secondary that looked the most atrocious. Baker Field, 19-24 for 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 6 times for 42 yards. Godwin caught 5 for 64. Mike Evans caught 5 for 62 and 2 touchdowns. Rashad White had a game, 10 carries for 72 yards. Looked like Bucky Irving was, taking that RB1 role from him. Irving ran 9 times for 44 yards. Irving did lose a fumble. Bucks were 6 of 11 on third down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush had 4 sacks and 11 quarterback hits, but good God, were they torched. That secondary was torched. Kirk Cousins threw for 509 yards. Only 14 quarterbacks in NFL history have thrown for more yards in a game. Levante David had an interception, but Falcons had 28 first downs. Jordan Whitehead, their safety, dealing with a groin injury. He's not been practicing, but they'll need him because Antoine Winfield's still out with the foot injury. Kalijah Cansey is expected to return this week, and Luke Gadecki remains out of the lineup, offensive tackle. Let's get into the Saints. Their red zone offense, best in the league. The red zone defense, best in the league. Their third down offense, second best in the league. And I don't think we care about the red zone offense or third down offense now, knowing that Derek Carr is unlikely to be under center. But he could still get there. You know him. He plays hurt. Third down defense, 17th in the league, 37.1%. Short rest after losing 26-13 at Kansas City on Monday night, and it was ugly for the Saints. They were outgained 460 to 220. The Chiefs had 7 red zone opportunities. The Saints had 1. Derek Carr was 18-28 for 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception before he left with the oblique. We're still waiting. Dennis Allen has not tipped his hat as to what's going on. Hainer was 2 of 7 for 17 yards. Rashid Shaheed, 4 passes. He caught for 86 yards and a touchdown. Olave, nowhere to be found. 2 catches for 10. And Kamara had a tough night on the ground. 11 carries for 26 yards. Did catch 4 passes for 86 yards and a touchdown. The defense tried to keep the Saints in it. Held the Chiefs to 2 of 7 in the red zone, but they just couldn't get off the field. Chiefs had the ball for 39 minutes and 56 seconds. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. That Kalen Saunders interception was as fun as football gets. No one wanted to get in the way of Kalen Saunders when he's running up the field with the ball. Cornerback Will Harris hurt his hamstring in the first half. They have just a litany of injuries. Pete Werner inactive with the hamstring injury. Willie Gay out with the hand injury. They're both questionable to go this week. I mean, you take Pete Werner and Willie Gay out of that middle of the defense. I mean, they're hurting. Taysom Hill out with the rib injury. They need him for, red zone plays, for misdirection. Their center
needed him for Wildcat this week.
Yeah. But also Cesar Ruiz, because we remember what happened to the Saints offense when Eric McCoy got hurt, right? He got hurt in the very first drive against the Eagles, and they had scored 91 points their first games. Their starting center gets hurt. Now the Eagles were a part of shutting that down, but they just stopped. And then Cesar Ruiz is the one who's supposed to be the backup center. So it's a tough spot here for whoever's going to be under center. And Peyton Turner also out with injury. Take it away for us, Troy. This is an interesting one. Buccaneers, Saints, Caesar Superdome.
This one's pretty straightforward to me, and I didn't realize that since I texted you this morning about this spot, the line had moved quite this much. This is pretty insane, especially because I haven't tweeted this one out either yet. It kind of sucks, but to me, this one's extremely straightforward. First of all, Derek Carr isn't going to play in this game, as you can see from the line movement. He has an oblique injury. That's not an easy injury for quarterbacks to play with. Add in the fact it is like a 1 to 2 week injury, and they got a short week next week. They got Thursday Night Football, I believe, next week. So that's very important to think about. I doubt he's going in this game. Like, I'd put it up there 9 out of 10 times he's not playing in this game. And look at the line movement. So I'm just going to give you some numbers from the database. Line movement towards divisional road team, 46 and 32 ATS is 59% over the last 3 seasons. When a home team that flipped from dog to a favorite, or when the road team flipped from a dog to a favorite, the road team is 75% ATS over the last 3 seasons. And that's a big, the big variable there is being in or out of division, because the trend completely changes when it's out of division. So that tells me it's a very strong trend. Just all these profiles just strongly favor the Bucs, and they strongly favor the under. And this Bucs team, they should be getting much healthier. I think they get Godecki back, Whitehead, Winfield. I think they all play. Jimmy, you said you do too, correct?
Not Godecki. I do not. Whatever's going on with him, he's been out since, for 5 weeks now.
Oh, yeah.
I can't trust that. And I can't trust Antoine Winfield being back. So Kalijah Cansey is going to be back. He would have played if it wasn't for the short week. We already been told that. So he's back, but I can't vouch for the other two.
I thought what I was reading that Winfield would be playing in this game, but I'll definitely have to keep up on with that. But the big reason I moved on the Bucs so early is because I knew this was heading through the 3. If Derek Carr's not going to play, and I think the offensive scheme for the Saints has been pretty much exposed. So what is Kubiak going to do now? Without Derek Carr, there's not much you really can do. Now, I actually didn't mind what I seen from that kid who came in there and played his first snaps at the NFL level. I thought he looked better than you'd think from a 3rd, 4th year quarterback who's never taken a snap at the NFL level. But this offensive scheme has gotten exposed. Take away the outside zone, take away the deep ball, and this team does not have much. They can't sustain drives. I think this Bucs offense is proving me wrong this season. And I'm on the Bucs. I bet them at -2.5. 3.5 looks really ugly right now, especially when I'm sitting with the 2.5. If I can get a not juice 3, I guess I'll take that. And I'm considering the under in this game. I mean, how are the Saints going to be able to put up points? You got a divisional home dog, lines moving to the under. You got huge trends to the under in this spot. And it's a perfect time, right? The Bucs came off that offensive explosion. We know the public is going to come piling in on the over. I think it's a good situation for the Bucs too. You want to get Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield against man coverage. They destroy defenses. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, the -3 is very expensive. Pinnacle hasn't put it out. 365 is giving us much better alternate lines than they have ever. I'm not sure why. For the first time they're now more competitive with the rest of the markets from other books. But even at 365, the -3 is -138. I think that under is appealing.
Christ.
Saturated saying it's unsettling how much Olave is being underutilized. And Birdie says this is such a huge overreaction to Carr. He's not worth 6 points. Saints. So
it's because Carr doesn't want to work over the field. He wants to work short to the outside of the field or very deep to the middle of the field. He doesn't want to work the intermediate where great receivers could really open up.
Very, very interesting. So what do you want to do here? You didn't tweet out the action. Do you want to just – how do you want to handle things?
I am going to just wait on this line. Maybe not later in the week. I can get a 3 when I could post it, and I'll just wait for that. And I'll wait on the total too, because I'd much rather have 41 is pretty damn key, man. You see a lot of totals. I track it every week. How often does a total land on X number? 41 is a pretty significant number. I'll take the under 41.5 right now, Jim.
Yeah, I don't see why. I mean, I think that under should probably be bet right now.
Yeah, I'm going to move.
Yeah, I think I will join you on that. And this isn't to say that, Haener, whom we expect will be a quarterback over Rattler, but Haener's bad or anything. He's, this isn't on him, but I do think that the Buccaneers were in that situation with over 100-degree heat. They whittled under pressure in the second half, and with Bowles, they're a character bunch, and I expect them to be better. And then Kubiak, I expect to be more conservative. I like it.
What's do you got it minus 110?
Yes.
The 41.5?
41.5 minus 110. I imagine we could probably do better because that's at 365. I know Pinnacle hasn't opened this one up yet, but we can get wow, Heritage is still at 42.5. They moved it down to 42.5 at 10:30 this morning. So Heritage at 42.5. Any other books at 42.5? No. Heritage at 42.5 at minus 108. All right. So that's locked in for you. And then I'm interested in joining. All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Browns 1-4, 1-2 on the road at Philadelphia Eagles 2-2, 1-1 at home at Lincoln Financial Field, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 70 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7-mile-per-hour winds. I like capping this game. It's fun. There's a lot of angles to it. Let's get into it. We have the total at 43.5 minus 107. It's a pick'em. This opened up at 44. Dropped down to 42.5 and then came back up to 43.5 last night. So we still have a half-point move towards the under. Let's get to the point spread for this one. We have the Eagles right now minus 9.5 at plus 103. It opened minus 9.5 and minus 106. So there's been 9 cents of movement towards the Browns at this number, plus 9.5 minus 116. I mean, it's a huge number. Let's just see what Bet Online has done with it, because they'll show us the look ahead as well. So this is at 9.5 juice to Cleveland. The look ahead was 6. So this has moved 3.5 points at this point. That plus 9.5 is heavily juiced at minus 119. Brady says, check out what teams have done the week after playing Washington. More wild than the Lions. I will copy and paste and look into that for sure. Let me just get that copied here for my notes. Let's go into the cash flow then for Browns, Eagles. We have 21% of the tickets and 24% of the cash on the Browns. 15% of the tickets and 37% of cash on the under. It did go up a point. Nick says Browns show up every other game. Take the points. We have 70 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. This red zone offense for the Browns has been very good. They just never get there. They're second in the league, tied at 75%. The red zone defense has been poor, 19th league, 55.6%. Their third down offense is the worst in the NFL. You think about some of these terrible offenses out there. And this Deshaun Watson-led offense is the worst third down offense in the league. They are converting third downs 18.2% of the time. Third down defense, 12th in the league, allowing opponents to get a first down 34.9% of the time. Browns coming off their third straight loss, an ugly 34-13 setback at Washington. Outgained 434 to 212. Their offense looked atrocious. 1 of 13 on third down. 1 of 13. And the Washington Commanders had come in last in the. They were the worst third down defense in the league. That's how bad this Browns offense is. The worst third down defense in the league. Shut them down. So Browns 1 of 13 on third down. Deshaun Watson continues to struggle. 15 of 28, 125 yards, touchdown. Also lost a fumble. But the offensive line isn't helping at all. He was sacked 7 times. He has yet to throw for 200 yards in a game this year. But Stefanski, because we did see Jameis for a second in the final minutes, but he said adamantly the Browns are not changing quarterbacks. Amari Cooper caught 4 passes for 60 yards. No one else caught for more than 22 yards. Jerome Ford ran 9 times for 47 yards. Deonta Foreman ran 9 for 44. Defensively, the Browns couldn't get stops, and the Commanders got whatever they wanted. Washington combined for 211 yards rushing on 31 carries. Washington went 8 of 17 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth down. Now, they did hold Washington at 3 of 6 in the red zone. Pass rush had 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Owusu Koromoa had a pick, but the Browns are beat up. So they lose Denzel Ward to a hamstring injury during the game. They lose their long snapper as well. Grant Delpit is in concussion protocol. So they lose Denzel Ward to the hamstring injury. Now Grant Delpit is in concussion protocol. They lose Ethan Pocic. He walked off the field. Stefanski said it's a knee injury. He's expected to be out for a while. Njoku comes back from the high ankle sprain, but he hurts his knee in the process. He's listed as questionable. You already don't have 2 tackles in Hudson and Conklin, and you didn't have linebacker Jordan Hicks as well. I mean, this is just a beat-up group. Now let's get into these Eagles. Red zone offense, 21st in the league, 47.1%. Red zone defense, 8th in the league at 43.8%. Their third down offense, 13th in the league at 40.7%. Third down defense, 16th in the league. 37%. Coming off their bye week, and Sirianni is clearly on the hot seat. They were last seen the ugly 33-16 loss at Tampa. They played without their top 2 receivers, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. They only managed 227 total yards in that game. They only had 114 through the air. They have not scored a point in the first quarter this year. I mean, at some point, you have to question the coaching offensively. They've been outscored 23-0 in the first quarter. Saquon Barkley continues to shine. 116 scrimmage yards versus the Bucs. 100-plus scrimmage yards in each of his first 4 games of the year. He's only the second player in Eagles history to accomplish that feat. It was last done in 1965 by Timmy Brown. Lane Johnson was out with a concussion. A.J. Brown hamstring. Devonta Smith concussion. They're all expected to be back. So is Devin White, who was out for a personal matter. So is
Devin White got let go.
Oh, did he get let go because of a personal matter? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, we thought he was going to play a role on this team, and he clearly wasn't off the hop, but okay. White got let go. Blankenship back. He was sick. He sat out the second half. So, I mean, he started. Jalen Carter left the game. Cam Jurgens left the game. They're fine. They're all ready to go. Remember, it was 100 degrees on the field. So they're all expected to be back except for Devin White. Eagles can turn this around. They can. Hurts is struggling. He has a turnover in 9 straight games, 4 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles this year. Their pass rush has been so bad. They have a 4.1 sack rate. That's 29th in the league through 4 games. Remember, just a little while, 2 years ago, 70 sacks. So far this year, 6. What a change. Take it away for us here, Troy. Browns, Eagles, Lincoln Financial Field.
Like you were talking about, this bye week couldn't have come at a better time for this Eagles team. And after that embarrassing performance, I think they're going to be hungry to come out and show who this team really is. And I have personal opinions about who this team really is and who they're going to be throughout the rest of the season. I agree with Chase J. I think they're primed to go on a massive run relative to expectations. And it's really hard to tell because looking at their track record so far, I mean, they beat 2 quality teams in the Packers and the Saints. They lost a game they should have won against ATL, against Atlanta. I think that changes the narrative completely if they win that game. And they got absolutely smoked by Tampa Bay. And what felt like a scheduled loss, the line was moving against them. It's a very short number. It's out the window with playoff revenge, and then everyone was injured. Man, it's really hard to know. And I think that with the personnel that this team has, they could be one of the best teams in the league. But then you look at Jalen Hurts, he has the highest turnover-worthy play rate in the NFL right now. That's really unlike him. The defense looks completely vulnerable from time to time. I think, like you said, questionable coaching decisions week in and week out. Haven't scored a first quarter point. Jesus, that's just unreasonable. Like, it's unacceptable. I do think we see a much better version of this Philly team moving forward, especially with another week of defensive install to prepare for this game. It's not like they have to prepare for much because on the other side of this, you've got Deshaun Watson, who's easily the worst quarterback in the league. If you've seen, I'm officially off of the Browns train. This guy is completely unincentivized to do anything right at this point. The defense decimated by injury. I think we see the Browns potentially go into tank mode. I think their morale is beaten down and to a point where it's irrevivable. It will not come back. And that makes this an Eagles or pass type of situation. But this number is so big. I would much rather see famous Jameis at quarterback for the Browns. But I don't think we're going to get it. So I don't know what to do with this game. I'm going to pass.
What do you think of the Eagles to win the NFC at 8-1 or 9-1?
That sounds like a very intriguing bet. This is the team I would put my futures down on right now if I didn't already have them.
I mean, I don't necessarily see them, in the Super Bowl, but that seems like a nice price to have in your pocket.
I mean, the NFC seems kind of wide open right now, Jim. I mean, it seems wide open.
Ron Crawford giving out very, very interesting information. I'll highlight it for you guys all to see with the home favorites right now. Very, 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 very interesting. Gordon and Koski liking that Eagles at 8-1. Well, it's 8-1 at 365. You can get higher. It's interesting. It's it might be a nice number to have in your pocket. Especially after you would have to say you would have to think now Sirianni is a problem. I think he's a problem, but you'd have to say that was the low watermark of their season against Tampa Bay. Do you think Sirianni's a problem, or am I just so disappointed in what I've seen since they were, 10-1 last year? The decision making offensively has been a real problem. What do you think about Sirianni? I know he's on the hot seat right now.
I thought Sirianni was going to be plus EV for this team, but he's botched so many situations at this point. It's hard to put my faith and put my chips down for this man when he's just made some ridiculously bad decisions. And I don't think it's anything he can't bounce back from. But right now, it's not like I'm jumping at the window to put more money down. Betting that he will be the reason this team bounces back.
Do you think this is just too many points at this point in this one, like to back the Eagles off of a bye when they need to win and they need to smash and grab, and it feels like the Browns are in a situation like the Eagles were against the Bucs?
It definitely does. It definitely does, and being the line's at 9.5 right now, I think that's a telling line because it gets out of the Wong teaser range, 8.5 down to 2.5, and also if it does take up to 10.5. That'd be, very good for the Eagles per the database. So maybe I just sit back and wait on this one. I'm not scared of Deshaun Watson and this Browns team, who I think are just heartbroken.
Yeah, it's but we know Watson will be a quarterback. We don't know whom is going to come back from this injury report. I mean, doesn't it feel like the Browns are giving up? The players are like giving up, that there needs to be a change somewhere, whether it be I mean how recently were we just bullish on the coaching for the Browns, talking about Stefanski and what a brilliant job he was doing last year, and now a change needs to be made, and it won't be him, but I mean he's putting all his eggs in the Deshaun Watson basket.
I think that's coming down from above his pay grade.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad situation. I agree. It should be a smash and grab spot, but I don't know, man. These big home favorites right now, and I backed the San Francisco 49ers a few weeks ago, and they actually absolutely hammered them.
That was Patriots game.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was very easy. Very easy. Jared TG in the house. Great to see you, my man. Thank you guys all for joining us. Birdie, Dougie Wise, Harold Williams, Gorky, Chase J, Spenny Penny Bombs. Spenny Penny Bombs now our leader in NFL Pub Hub off a smash and grab week. Nordy looking at Philly for his Survivor pick. Nordy, nice to know you're still in Survivor, man. It's been a hard one this year. We did announce our champion here, Drug Monkey RX. Our friend Drug Monkey RX, $4,200. Richard, great job, Drug Monkey. Let's roll on. Spenny saying dogs of 5.5 or more in 19-4-1 this year. Wow. Yeah, I like the Eagles to smash and grab, but it's never comfortable taking a favorite at this big of a line. So I'm going to wait on that one. as well. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Washington Commanders, 4-1, 2-1 on the road at Baltimore Ravens, 3-2, 1-1 at home, M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. How exciting is this game going to be? What a thing of beauty. 73 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 10 miles per hour. Take a look at the line history for this Commanders-Ravens game. We have the Commanders at plus 6.5. I mean, it's a crazy number to me.
It's an insane number.
They're just playing so well.
And this is the number. This is the number, Jim. You talk about it. You put this in my head. This is the number. This is what sticks out to me in this game. This is that number that proves the bookies are actively trying to beat us.
Yes.
It looks like to me.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it. They set up a line where they know everybody is going to bet.
Pros and public alike, right? This looks like a great situation for everybody to ape in on the Commandies.
And 48% of the tickets are on the Ravens. Now just 21% of the cash. 25% of the tickets, 61% of cash is on the under. I was one. So my dad sent in Commanders action last week, and I didn't send it in, so it cost me. He put 300 down on the Commanders, and I was wondering if he was going to go back to the well this week, and he didn't. He is on the Broncos, and it's another bet I'm not going to send in. The line's moving against them. I think it's a very public square play that may cash, but the Commanders, what looked like a square play last week, the line was moving towards the Browns. This is a very tricky line to handle. Proof Bet says this line is same as the Cards game 2 weeks ago. He'll be repping burgundy and gold. Dougie Wise on the Ravens -6.5. Chosen one on the Commanders +6.5. So let's roll. So we have the 6.5 line that hasn't moved. We've seen the success of a 6.5 line that moves down to 5 or 4.5. But this 6.5 line has moved 3 cents towards Washington. That's it. 3 cents towards them. Let's get to the total here for this one. From a total perspective, we have this at 52. This opened up at 51 at Pinnacle and has climbed to 52. And after watching Ravens Bengals, now I think that's a different situation because we've seen this Commanders defense, their head coach is a defensive guy, and Dan Quinn start moving, this even without Cleveland Farrell. Moving it. Londo on Washington +6.5 and the under. Spenny Pennybomb says should be a fun game. Daniels is a better passer than Lamar. Harold Williams says Commanders come down to earth on Sunday. Londo says way too many points. Commanders red zone offense 56.5%. Did we talk about what happened with the total? So yeah, 75% on the over, but just 39% of the cash, but it is climbing. Commanders coming off yet another impressive win. Their red zone offense, 15th in the league at 56.5%. Their red zone defense, bad. 29th in the league, 68.8%. Their third down offense is the best in the NFL now. First in the league, 51.7%. Their third down defense, 23rd at 43.6%. And Ron Crawford's spreadsheet play of the day is in. What bet would I actually send in? Something that I'm on, Jared. Something that I'm on. It's never happened. Isn't that nuts? He's never sent in a bet that I'm on. I mean, how is that possible? I'm 45 years old. And it's never happened. Never once. I mean, it's just nuts that that's the case. Every time he sends it in, it's on a very public square spot. And he's having a good run for the last couple of years, but they're all public square spots. And we know that the public square spots cash too, and we've saw it with the cash cow in MLB throughout the year. Let's roll here. Third down defense, 23rd in the league. So red zone defense, 29th. Third down defense, 23rd. Third down offense, the best in the NFL. They're coming off another impressive win, 34-13 at home over the Browns. 4-1 for the first time since 2008. Jaden Daniels, 14-25 for 238 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He also ran 11 times for 82 yards. He didn't have it. You know how we see pitchers once in a while, they just don't have it. He didn't have it, and he still put up great numbers. He threw that interception in the end zone, or, when they were in the red zone, and he bounced right back. He is the real deal. Terry McLaurin caught 4 for 112. Austin Eckler returned from his concussion, ran 6 times for 67 yards, and caught 2 passes for 30 yards. Commanders combined to run for 215 yards and 34 carries. We were talking about it on one of our live streams this weekend, how when he leaves, remember when Griffin would leave the pocket, you'd be like, oh, God, he's going to get killed. You're like, oh, man, just get to the sidelines. Like, he's just, the way he was running, he always looked like somebody was just going to take him out. Jaden Daniels is the smoothest operator I've ever seen. I've not seen him vulnerable. He just, when he gets around, when he gets to that edge, there's nobody in front of him. One move, gets to the edge, there's no one in front of him. He is phenomenal. They entered the game with the worst third down defense in the league, and they held the Browns to 1 of 13 on third down, just 212 yards. This pass rush was dynamic. 7 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. Let's talk about the Ravens. I felt bad, very bad, for those sharps on the Bengals. Now, I couldn't get there, but I had a lot of friends that got there. And, you know, when they got the fumble in overtime, I can't comprehend why it just became the most conservative play calling ever. And if you're going to be that conservative and force your kicker into a 53-yarder, I hope it's a bad snap. I hope you get burnt. I hope you get burnt.
On first down, they had 9 guys in the box. I thought it was clear pass play going to end the game right there. I couldn't believe it.
I was listening to the radio. I had to drive my daughter to a birthday party. I was listening to the game on the radio, and I was like, oh, it's done. We're done here. And then it was shocking. You know, Chase is caught for 190 some odd yards. You have T. Higgins with a 90-yard game. Your weapons, you have Gesicki if you need to. I mean, you have just weapons all over the place, and yet you don't use them. And you pay the consequences. But the Ravens win. Fair and square. Their red zone offense, second in the league, tied 75%. Their third down offense, third in the league at 50%. Now, their red zone defense, 25th in the league. I didn't expect that. They're allowing touchdowns 66.7% of the time. Their third down defense, 21st in the league, allowing first downs 42.6% of the time. I didn't think that was coming. Lamar Jackson, 26 of 42 for 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 12 times for 55 yards. He did fumble twice, losing one of them. You know, it's wild when you can see some plays he makes that are the most spectacular plays. When he picked up the bad snap and he stiff-armed the defender and threw it a touchdown pass. I mean, you're like, this is the most phenomenal thing I've ever seen. And then in the most important play, he claps for the ball to be hiked to him, but he's looking at the play clock. I mean, I would be so nervous. And this happened to me before. Being in a huge football game where everything's on the line and your money's on Lamar Jackson. Even though he's spectacularly talented, I hope I'm not in that situation again, honestly. Zay Flowers, 7 catches for 111 yards. Derrick Henry ran 1,592 yards and touchdown, but that doesn't tell the story. He was getting stopped until that huge run to finish the game in overtime. 10 of 15 on third down, 1-1 on fourth down. They were 5 for 6 in the red zone, but it was really 5 for 5, right? They just needed the field goal to win it. So that was the only one they didn't go in. But the defense looked so vulnerable. Bengals put up 442 yards of offense, go 8 of 14 on third down. Bengals were a perfect 3 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush had 3 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Marlon Humphrey had an interception, but he was in a walking boot after the game. He's listed as questionable this week, but this is a pretty healthy team. Take it away. I can't wait to hear this breakdown. What a fascinating capping situation for us. Commanders, Ravens, M&T Bank Stadium, and Baltimore, Maryland.
God, I don't have much to add. You absolutely killed it. You covered it all. I just want to continue to remind everybody to tread lightly with this game. I mean, the number alone is telling us a story that just cannot be ignored. If you want to sustain success, this is a 6.5. Despite what we've seen out of these two teams, how could you not put this number around 3.5 or 4? The fact it's up and over the 6 to me is so strong. It's begging for action on the Commanders. The only way I buy the Commanders in this situation is if we dip below the 6. My hand will be forced. And I'm waiting on this spot just to make sure that doesn't happen. But what we've seen from Jaden Daniels has been more than impressive this season. But to me, it's unsustainable success. I mean, the level of success he's currently having is completely unsustainable. What happens when he falls behind? What happens if he's chasing instead of leading in a game? When is he going to run into some adversity? Because we really haven't seen that. And you look at this defense, still grading out 31st overall in the NFL, one of the worst defenses across the board. It's not a team I'm looking to back. I mean, this is definitely a Ravens or pass situation. Who are we going to trust to be more consistent on offense and on defense? It's going to be the Ravens in this spot. So I'm waiting, making sure we don't close below 6. I'll be on the Ravens.
If this stays at 6.5, you're on the Ravens.
Yeah. And there's a lot of trends that say when spread opens and closes between 6 and 7, take them.
Ooh, this is just fascinating. A saturated saying just take both quarterback rushing props over, roll one up and enjoy. Spenny saying take both sides receivers props. Should be a lot of air yards in this one. And Birdie says the number is not being right with Washington the entire year. If they put this at a 4, they would have a monster Raven hold. You bet Washington up at low limits, then you pound Washington when limits increase.
So what are you saying there, Birdie? You saying that this line is going to start moving?
Yeah, I think that he expects this line to move from the 6.5 towards Washington. I mean, this is just the Browns Washington game was a pros versus Joes. And my dad was on the Joe side, and he cashed it and thinks this is too easy. And all of the sharps, we watched that line go from 3.5 to 3, and that was not dumb money. And it was over from the first snap.
I was on the Browns. I knew it was over. I turned it off fast.
Yeah. I mean, Brady says it will continue to drop. Wow. All right. This game. This is what makes me the most uncomfortable in gambling, when I know that the market puts out a number that all of the cash is going to come in on. And I would like to too. I get it. I generally just put a line through it and watch. But in this fascinating spot, this total now at 52.5, 52, is there no total too high right now for the Commanders? Because I thought that Cardinals total was too high and the Commanders almost got there on their own. Do you agree with this move to the over?
I don't agree with any total over 50 in the NFL. Rarely do they go over. Rarely. They go over that's the rarest range. Anything over 50, it doesn't go over. I mean, you just look at all the games. There's too much things that happen in a football game that it's just too big of a number. This is under or pass, but I feel more confident in the Ravens covering the spread than I do the Commanders. Now that changes completely if this line does start moving.
Yeah. No, I feel you. We'll have to keep a close eye on it. But can you compare, like Al Cervic says, Jimmy's Pops bets need a segment to be discussed every week. Can you imagine somebody sending you an NFL bet every single week, and in your whole life, you've never been on the same side as that bet? How's that? It's just not possible. It's not possible. And every single week, it's that. Every single week. So this week, it's the Broncos. Okay. Nick saying Ravens will run the ball and control time of possession. They'll have to because the Commanders have the ball. They just look so good, man. They look so good. Good God. Dan Quinn's got himself one. Everybody in Washington is so lucky you got Jaden Daniels at the helm. Let's roll on. We move on to afternoon action and the aforementioned Pops bet. 4:05 p.m. Eastern, LA Chargers 2-2, 1-1 on the road at the Denver Broncos 3-2, 1-1 at home. We're at Mile High in Denver, Colorado. Still beautiful weather in Denver. We'll wait for that to change. But right now, 67 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. Pops actually sent this to me while we were doing our live stream. Got into the soup a bit last night, and I didn't look at my emails until this morning. And the line was moving drastically against them. And, I gave him the line at the 3 because that's where it was. This total, let's talk about this total, is at 36 at Pinnacle, 35.5 at other books. Opened up at 37. Opened up at 37 on Monday night at 7:40. Dropped to 36 on, so it opened up at 7:40 p.m. on Sunday night at 7:40. It moved to 36 on Monday morning at 7:30. And it's now juiced to the under at this point. So we've had a 1.5 move towards the under here at this point. Take a look at the side. It moved to 3 today, or early today, and that's where we have it right now. Denver +3 is slightly juiced at -108. They opened up at +2.5 and moved to 3. This 3 was at -112 last night, but back to -108, but we saw a 0.5 point move towards the Superchargers coming off of their bye week. Let's get to the cash flow here for our first afternoon spot on the board. You have 40% of the tickets and 30% of the cash, and yet this line's moved towards the Chargers. 91% of tickets and 79% cash on the over, and yet this is moving towards the under. Chargers come in off their bye week. They were last seen in a week 4, 17-10 loss at home to the Chiefs. Jared TG says, yeah, maybe your dad listens to you, and when you say something he thinks is stupid, he's like, let me teach my boy a lesson here. I can promise you that he doesn't listen to me, and he doesn't watch this show. So I can promise you that. Red zone offense, 24th, 44.4%. Red zone defense, second for the Chargers at 28.6%. Their third down offense, 21st in the league at 36.4%. Third down defense, 20th in the league at 39.3%. So the defense, let's start with the defense. They get Derwin James back from the 1-game suspension. He's important. I know he can make a lot of mistakes, but he's helpful, I believe. The defense has been very, very good. They're allowing a league low 12.5 points per game. They're 12th against the pass. They're ranked 7th overall. A year ago, at this point in the year, they were allowing 26 points per game. They were 31st overall. And then they were last against the pass through 4 games. I mean, how does Staley get a job? I don't understand why these old football guys continue to get jobs. They shouldn't. You should. Your body of work should either keep you working or get you stocking shelves. So they didn't have James. They didn't have Joey Bosa with a hip injury. He tried to play, and the Chargers look good. 17-10 loss to Kansas City. Herbert has been bothered by this high ankle sprain, but he looked better against the Chiefs than he did September 22nd against the Steelers. He really needed the bye week. He got it. The offense has scored a touchdown on its opening drive the past 2 games and then not scored another one. Now they were dealing with the Chiefs without Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, and the running game struggled mightily. They averaged 197.5 yards the first 2 games, 58 yards per game the last 2 weeks. Now, Joe Alt will return, but it's unclear if Slater will. They've both been excellent this year. Pipkins moved to right tackle, and he allowed 2 quarterback pressures on 29 pass blocking snaps. I mean, this is a very impressive offensive line if they're all healthy. And Harbaugh said there's a possibility that DJ Shark could return to practice next week. He's been on injured reserve because of a hip injury. So hoping. So let's talk about these Broncos rolling right now. Red zone offense, though, 26th in the league at 43.8%. Red zone defense, third at 33.3%. Their third down offense, 31st in the league at 24.6%. Their third down defense, 9th in the league at 32.4%. They come in off an impressive 34-18 win at home over the Raiders. Raiders did outgain the Broncos 330 to 289. Vegas was up 10-0. Then the Broncos scored 34 unanswered points. Bo Nix, 19-27 for 26 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And Javonte Williams had a second straight strong game. Since Beatty got hurt, he stepped up. He looked bad to start the year. He stepped up. 13 carries for 61 yards, 5 catches for 50 yards. Shout out to Spenny Pennybombs, who had his over 100 rushing receiving at plus 300. Gave that on NFL Pub Hub and cashed it at plus 300. Little Jordan Humphrey had 2 catches for 48 yards. Nix threw the ball to 11 different players. That's a Broncos record. They continued to struggle on third down, 3 of 12. They were 3 of 4 in the red zone, though. The defense looked strong again, held the Raiders to 5 yards rushing after halftime. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Sertan, 2 interceptions. 1 he returned 100 yards to the house. Riley Moss also had an interception. Raiders went 7 of 15 on third down, but were just 1 of 2 in the red zone. Broncos center Matt Wattenberg left in the fourth quarter with an unspecified injury at this point. We're trying to get more information on it. And Alex Palczewski, he was replaced by Matt Pert in the second half. Paczewski had been starting in place of Mike McGlinchey. So there are some issues on the offensive line for the Broncos. Take it away for us here, Troy. Chargers, Broncos.
This one was pretty clear to me. And as soon as I started digging into the metrics, I even got more bullish on this spot. This is 2 teams that pride themselves. It's a divisional ball game. 2 teams that pride themselves on the defensive side of the ball. Both teams want to play with a slow pace, a more old school type of offense. Per PFF, both of these teams are top 6 in defensive overall. Both teams are 25th or lower in red zone attempts and conversion rate. This is the number 1 and number 2 teams in rushing yard percentage. They want to run the ball, and they're not very efficient when they do that. And it's not like what the Raiders did offensively, what the Broncos did offensively was overly impressive. 289 yards of total offense. I know they put up a lot of points, 5 yards per play, only 3.9 yards per rush, and that's against a terrible defense. The Chargers, on the other hand, only put up 10 points versus the only 2 quality defenses that they played. I'm on the under 36. I got it at minus 108. I bet it heavily. This is one of those spots where I'll be adding 35.5, adding 36.5, something along those lines, just so I could, reflect what I'm actually betting in terms of how it impacts my wallet. And this is a good candidate for an alt under. I have the average score of this game. The history of this market is 26.5. So I'm seeing a bunch of undefeated trends to the under. I know at some point it's got to regress, but I don't think it's going to be in this spot. I'm on the under 36.
I like it. I can completely understand why you are on it. I would like to join you. Alondo on the opposite. He's on the over 36, and he's with Pops on Broncos +3. Daryl Lyles on Broncos first half +0.5. I mean, we talked about the line in the Commanders game. I felt similar with this. They're putting out a line that after watching the Broncos the last couple weeks, 3 weeks, 3-2 now, 3 straight wins, that who in the right mind wouldn't want to back the Broncos after they, destroy the Buccaneers in Tampa, beat the Jets in New York, and then destroy the Raiders at home. Now, destroy, maybe not the right word. They were outgained.
Here you go, Jimmy. Let me speak specifically to this. This is a small sample, but it doesn't happen very often. But even the larger samples are very bullish on this under. Home dogs and all these spreads are 1 point plus or minus on a 3. So between +2 and +4, a total less than 38. All of these markets have moved to the under. It's 6-0 to the under. And the average score, the average result of the game is 20 total points. I mean, I just couldn't find a more bullish scenario in the whole market efficiency database.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm going to join you. I'm in bed tonight. And I can understand Londo thinking this is too low. I can completely understand. But I agree with this. And I should have moved on it last week. How did they, I just want to see where the look ahead was over at Bet Online. And it'll probably just upset me. I guess it was, that's not it. I guess it was 37.5, I'm thinking, or maybe 38.5. Let me just check here. That would upset me if it was 38.5. No, 37.5. Yeah, opened up at 37.5 last week, last Tuesday. I'm fine with that. But again, getting over that 37 is very, very helpful. All right. Under 36 for Troy at -108. I'm going to be betting that one this evening. Let's roll on. Next game, another very low total, but should it be? 4:05 p.m. Eastern. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers 3-2, 2-1 on the road at Las Vegas Raiders 2-3, 1-1 at home. We're at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the big story here is there is an expectation that Russell Wilson will be under center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We'll go back to Pinnacle line moves. This one is at 36.5. It's -109 to the over. This opened up 36.5 -107 to the over, 2 cents towards the over. These low totals, I generally like to be on unders, but I do have some concerns about this one. Whether or not that means I'll just stay off, we'll find out. Vegas is +3 at -106. They opened up +3 at -110. Today at 3:45 p.m., it looked like this might move to a 2.5 at some point. This was a +3 at -117. And then there was a 9-cent move back to Pittsburgh. So you could have got Pittsburgh today, 3:45 p.m. -3 at +104. And now it's just a regular old -3. So interesting there. Let's take a look at the cash flow here for this one. And we have, just passed it. There we go. We have 66% of the tickets, 75% of cash on the Steelers. We have 93% of the tickets on the over in this one. 93. And 68% of the cash. So only 7% of the tickets are coming in on the under on this one. Let's take a look at the X's and O's and hand it over. Ziggy Balls would go under. Rant says way under. I don't feel that way, but let's talk it out because I think I might know how to move on this I think, but I want to talk it out. Let's talk about the Steelers. Red zone offense, 18th in the league at 50%. Their red zone defense, 3rd in the league at 33.3%. Their third down offense is 16th in the league at 40.6%. Third down defense, 19th in the league at 38.7%. Steelers coming off a disappointing 2017 loss at home to the Cowboys. They were badly outgained, 445 to 226. Justin Fields really struggled, 15 of 27, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 6 times for 27 yards. And Russell Wilson back healthy and practicing this week, and he may get the start. At this point, we expect him to get the start, I would say. Najee Harris ran 14 times for 42 yards, led all receivers with 2 catches for 35 yards. That's a problem. And the defense couldn't get enough stops. I mean, the Cowboys, now Rico Dowdle did have a decent game running. So it was the first time we saw the Cowboys with an okay running attack. But Cowboys were 9 of 15 on 3rd down, 1 of 1 on 4th down. And the Steelers stayed in the game thanks to holding the Cowboys to 1 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush had 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Spenny says, who's going to play quarterback for the Raiders? Does it matter? Minshew or O'Connell or both ass? What are Wilson and Justin Fields? I get that. Yes, if it's a 1-game affair, you probably rather have one of those 2 guys than Minshew or O'Connell. But I'm saying by a taint hair. I mean, I get it. Because at least they can move the ball with their feet. But so they're already down Alex Highsmith due to injury. And then they lose Nick Herbig, and all of a sudden, that pass rush was real quiet. They got interceptions from Joey Porter Jr. and Dante Jackson. Jalen Warren and Cordero Patterson missed the game. Both will be out again this week. Tomlin says that the safety DeMonte Casey is doubtful to play. Outside linebacker DeMarvin Leal, he went down in the 4th quarter, and they said it was a stinger. But Tomlin's already come in and said he's out this week. So these defenses are just getting this phenomenal Steelers defense is a little beat up. Let's talk about the Raiders, and I'm interested in them. Red zone offense, 7th in the league at 66.7%. Maybe I stay off, though. I mean, this is not a comfortable spot to back the Raiders. Red zone defense, 21st in the league, 61.1%. Their third down offense, 22nd in the league, 35.9%. And their third down defense is 4th in the league. They're only allowing first downs 30% of the time. The Raiders coming off that ugly 34-18 loss at Denver. They scored on that Brock Bowers 57-yard touchdown catch, and then they had Carlson's 40-yard field goal. And Minshew had them in the red zone, and they were going to take a 17-3 lead. Minshew completed his first 9 passes for 115 yards. He looked good. And, of course, he rolls to his left. 1st and goal from the 5. Surtain intercepts it at his goal line and runs 100 yards down the field for a touchdown. And that was part of the 34 unanswered Broncos points. Minshew was 12 of 17 for 137 yards and a touchdown, 2 picks, and a pair of sacks. He did not look good after completing those first 9 balls. So, I love it. Saturated. Nice job, Otani and Tatis. I love it. Great job, my man. So he was replaced by Aiden O'Connell. O'Connell didn't look good, 10 of 20, 94 yards and an interception. Brock Bowers caught 8 passes for 97 yards touchdown. Jacoby Myers caught 6 for 72. Alexander Madison continues to struggle, so Amir Abdullah replaced him late. I wonder if we'll see more Abdullah. I mean, he ran 5 times for 42 yards and a touchdown. I wonder if we'll see more. Raiders were 7 of 15 on third down. Now, they outgained the Broncos 330 to 289. It was turnovers that did him in. Max Crosby returned to the lineup, still dealing with that high ankle sprain, but he had 2 sacks. 2 of the Raiders, 3 sacks. Raiders allowed the Broncos to go 3 of 4 in the red zone. And Devontae Adams, do we expect him to play another game in a Raiders uniform? Do you want him to play another game? I mean, he's made it pretty clear that he probably doesn't want to be there. And defensive tackle Christian Wilkins sat out the second half with a foot injury, and he's listed as questionable. They're missing Diablo. They're missing 5 guys that could help them, and we're still waiting to see if any of those guys will be able to play here. Take it away for us, Troy. Steelers, Raiders.
Yeah, I kind of talked about the Steelers team on Sunday night. Obviously, the defense has everything you want on the defense. But they are facing some injuries that definitely changes the outlook of this game, certainly. But the issue with this Steelers team is Justin Fields parlayed with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is extremely stale, but you can make an argument that he's perfect for the Steelers and does what the Steelers want to do as a football team, especially with these quarterbacks. And Fields just cannot read defense after the snap. I think the scheme, what people say in football and for football terms, it's 1 to 2 to you. You make your first read, your second read, and if you don't got it, you tuck it and run. That just doesn't work at the NFL level. It's not an NFL caliber scheme. And what that does is it limits you to half of the field. And if you've ever seen Justin Fields move from his first 2 reads to his second 2 reads on the other side of the field, it doesn't happen. And that's when he just tucks it and runs, and you just can't be a successful offense in today's NFL with that type of scheme. And the Raiders, their defense is probably the sketchiest defense you could find outside of Max Crosby. They're just absolutely abysmal. Grades out 30th, just in front of the Commanders and the Cowboys. They're visibly the worst tackling team in the NFL. And offensively, they can't generate any offensive line yards. I can't bet this game with any goodwill. I definitely wouldn't be on the Raiders in this situation. So, and I'm not betting. You'll never see me on a home team +3. You'll never see it.
Wow. Yeah, I completely get it. Alistair was saying Tomlin horrible as a road favorite. If Russell Wilson's at quarterback, isn't he just? I know the Raiders' defense isn't very good, but isn't he just going to fail again in front of us? Isn't he just devoid of having the ability to do anything close to what we saw when he was in the Seahawks uniform?
Yeah, I think we know that he's not the guy who was in Seattle at this point.
If we see Russell Wilson at quarterback for the Steelers, this line at a 3, you still would have no interest in fading black and yellow, without Herbig, without Highsmith, and without others. We'll have to wait and see.
No, I'm not going to be fading the Steelers. It won't happen. And then someone said Tomlin on the road. Well, as a favorite over the past 3 seasons, he is 4-2 ATS as a road favorite, less than 3. And actually, he's never been a road favorite bigger than 3. So this is pretty much the max capacity of the amount of points the Steelers will be laying on the road.
16.5 is the team total for the Raiders. 19.5 for the Steelers. Nick saying plus Russell had 2 elite receivers in Seattle. Very, very, very interesting spot. Jose Bouquet joining us now, tied for the lead in the NFL Cappers contest at Pub Sports Radio alongside our friend Mitch Fearing. So very, very tight up there, and great work, Jose. Love seeing you deliver. At this point, I'm not going to move. I want to sit with it. I want to cap it longer. I want to know Russell Wilson's at quarterback. I want to know who's at quarterback for the Raiders. But I do lean towards the Raiders. Again, I hear what you're saying about the home dog at +3, something you don't want. Maybe I could comfortably stay off. I think the Steelers defense will be just slightly more vulnerable than we've seen it. I think it will continue to happen until Highsmith comes back. And that pass rush really, really slowed down with Nick Herbig out of it. I was surprised Herbig was as good as he's looked since he's come in.
Well, he was left on an island all night. They were chipping towards TJ Watt the entire night, so he was just one-on-one, and he was looking really good. He was very impressive.
And Alex says, doesn't Tomlin just beat bad teams year in and year out? Okay, well, I'm not going to move on this tonight, but I think this is a buy low spot on the Raiders with Highsmith and Herbig out, and Patterson and Warren out. Najee Harris is not the guy. So you have them out. DeMonte Casey out. DeMarvin Leal, who's come in to replace on outside linebacker, he's out. But I'll wait on it. Let's move on to 4:25 p.m. Eastern. And this is a tricky spot, Detroit Lions, Dallas Cowboys. I feel like I'm, walking into a trap here. But I also wanted the Lions -3 in my pocket. There was a market move back to Dallas today, and I fell for it with Cowboys Steelers. I fell for it. Cowboys deserve to win that game. We'll discuss it here, but I did move on the Lions -3 at -114. I moved on it, 3 hours ago. I saw that people, Birdie had talked about it on our live stream on Monday night, that if you want them -3, -110, bet it now. It moved to -120, and then it came back. Right now, you do see 3.5s on the board. It's the same as at Bet365. It was a 3.5 But the 3 was only minus 114. And I was surprised to see that. It did catch me by surprise. Right now, you can get the Lions minus 3.5 at plus 100, or you can go into the alternate spread and get that minus 3 at minus 114. So, but I just don't feel. I feel like something. I don't feel comfortable. The 3.5 at Pinnacle. If you want the Lions plus 3.5, or sorry, minus 3.5. Right now, that's plus 115. I mean, this is continuing to move. I bet you this. Let's go to Pinnacle right now. I mean, it makes it sound like, wow. So the Lions minus 3 now is, it's still minus 113. Okay, so that's not moving. And I got minus 114. I could have got minus 113 in Pinnacle. I sent it in at minus 114 instead. So this minus 3.5 is what it opened at. It opened, let's go from the Dallas side. Opened plus 3.5 minus 116. This got to plus 3.5 at minus 129 today at noon. Then it came back. Then it went up again. This was plus 3.5 at minus 134 15 minutes ago. There's actually been a 4-cent move back to the Lions in the last 15 minutes. So a ton of movement in this one, and so fascinated to see where this ends up. And I'm just, you start studying the Cowboys' injuries, and how can you back them? And I fell in this trap against the Steelers, and I guess if this doesn't move in a market range I'm comfortable, I will buy out of this bet. I don't, if they're just opening up their arms to anybody who wants the Lions at minus 3, I'm going to buy out. But if this ends up at 3.5 or 4, I'm going to expect to win. So we'll see how it bangs out. This total opened up at 52.5. It's dropped a half point to 52. Let's get into the cash flow then for this one. We have 60% of the tickets and 71% of the cash on the Detroit Lions. That's gone down a bit in the last few hours. You have 76% of the tickets, 77% cash on the over, and it's dropped a half point. Londo on Dallas and the money line says he's confident in the Cowboys in this. Interesting. So the Lions red zone offense 16th in the league at 55.6%. Their red zone defense 20th in the league, 58.3%. Their third down offense 6th in the league at 45.8%. Their third down defense very good as well, 7th in the league at 31.7%. They coming up their bye week. Last seen a 42-29 victory at home over the Seahawks. Goff was perfect. 18 of 18, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. The most passes in NFL history without an incompletion at 18. And we've seen the difference in this Detroit Lions offense. In that week 2 loss to the Bucks, Goff threw the ball 55 times. And the offense looked terrible. Looked easy to defend. And since then, they've gotten back to what Goff wants to do. Short passes, slants, give your receivers room to run. Against the Cardinals and the Seahawks, he combined only throw 41 passes and he completed 36 of them. 87.8% for 491 yards. So after the first 2 games, there was question marks around Goff this year. He'd throw more interceptions than touchdowns. Of course, he'd signed that $212 million 4-year extension. And then in these 3 wins, he's throwing 23 passes. And why do they need to throw 23 passes? Because their Montgomery and Gibbs backfield is so good. Use them. They are the first pair of running backs on the team to each have 350-plus yards from scrimmage and 4 touchdowns in the first 4 games since the merger in 1970. That's what they're doing. They had at least 70 yards from scrimmage apiece in every game. The first duo to do that over the first 4 games of a season since the 1978 Steelers. Franco Harris involved in that. When each of those 2 run for a touchdown, Detroit is 7-0 over the last 2 seasons. And yes, the defense looked very vulnerable. Seahawks put up 516 total yards. Seattle set an NFL record with 38 first downs in a loss. Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold looked horrible. We saw it. They looked horrible. They were called for pass interference or holding 7 times. Now, Brian Branch should return from illness. We expect him back in action and fine. And look, they don't have anyone to replace Carlton Davis or Terrion Arnold. You just have to deal with those 2 guys. Branch comes back. They're all pro center. Frank Ragnow comes back. It's not as much betting on the Lions as how can the Cowboys continue to deliver with their injuries. Red zone offense, 22nd in the league, 46.2%. Their red zone defense is 2nd worst in the league. 78.6% of the time they're allowing touchdowns in the red zone. Now, the Lions' red zone offense hasn't been that good. Their third down offense, 8th in the league, 44.6%. Their third down defense, 6th in the league at 31.7%. How can their third down defense continue to deliver? I don't get it. They go into their bye week after this game. They just want to get to their bye week. They need to get to their bye week. They did just enough to squeak out that 2017 victory. Dak threw the winning touchdown with 20 seconds left. It shouldn't have been so close. They outgained the Steelers 445 to 226. It's just you can't trust Dak. Makes boneheaded decisions. 29 to 42 for 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He had a fumble. Now, he did recover the Rico Dowdle fumble. That was huge. I mean, they lose the game if he doesn't do that. And Brandon Cooks out of the lineup. Jalen Tolbert stepped up. Shout out to Londo in the chat. He was all over the Tolbert props, alternate lines. Tolbert caught 7 for 87 yards. Cooks is on the IR, so get used to Tolbert. Get used to Ferguson. Ferguson caught 6 for 70. CD Lamb had an off game, 5 for 62. Rico Dowdle had a good game, 20 for 87, caught 2 for 27 and a touchdown. The offense moved the ball. Now, Rico did have that pick or that fumble that was saved by Dak. They continued to struggle in the red zone, 1 of 4 there. And the defense was strong in their first game without both Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. But were they that strong, or is the Steelers offense trash? Trash without their second and third running backs, and trash with Justin Fields. Lawrence is on IR. Parsons is not going to be back this week. And their defensive end, Marshawn Nealand, who is starting in place of DeMarcus Lawrence, is out with a knee injury. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So now who's in? Despite all that, they held the Steelers to 312 on third down, just 226 yards. So, what is it? Is the Steelers offense terrible, or is the Cowboys defense still good? Jerry Jones said that he did not expect Deron Bland to play in week 6. Also, offensive tackle Tyler Guyton is day-to-day with a knee injury. And Mike McCarthy said that cornerback Kalen Carson is getting closer to returning. Take it away, Troy. I can't wait to hear your breakdown. Lions, Cowboys.
I find this game to be very appealing. This is a great matchup for Detroit. This is the most physical team at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball in the NFL. And where are the Cowboys vulnerable on defense? It's against the run and against play action. 2 areas where the Lions could exploit this defense. On the defensive line, they're going to go up against this Cowboys offensive line, which is the worst in Dak Prescott's era. Their pass block rate is 21st. One of the strongest points that I covered is the line functionality. If you look year over year, because we're going back 3 years now, but in this matchup, it tells a strong story. Look in 2022, the Cowboys laid 7 points. They won by 18. 2023, Cowboys opened at 6. They closed 4.5. Yes, I hammered the spot. I was also on the money line. Cowboys won by 1 point. Good little come up. And now we're looking at the Cowboys opening at plus 3.5 at home. They probably close at +3, +3.5, but it doesn't really matter to me because I'm going to hammer it anyway. I've seen the history of what happens when these home dogs open 3.5, close 3. It's not good for the home team. The Lions defense has been one of the great, they've been pretty good outside of one performance. I don't want to say great. They've been good against all the teams they played except for Seattle, and Seattle's proven to be a bad matchup for this team. Lions defense, run D grade out 8th, tackling 6th, pass rush 2nd, coverage 13th. 3rd overall, and they get Breon Branch back, who's the most important guy coming back to this offense. I know, Ragnow's obviously important, but that offensive line is so dominant. How much does he add to that offensive line? You can make an argument. But I think that this Cowboy, you look at the other side, look at this Cowboys defense, how this Cowboys defense profiles versus this offense, the Lions specifically, it's not good. Run defense 32nd, tackling 24th, coverage 23rd. This is the worst graded defense in the NFL. And they didn't get much points from a DVOA standpoint either after playing the Steelers, which tells me that they're not adjusting much, or they're adjusting them downwards because the Steelers' offense is incapable of producing any points. I think the Lions get what they want offensively, and I can't say the same for the Cowboys. I'm on the Lions. And I talked about these home dogs, 3.5. You want to fade them. And I think that you even want to fade them more with the total greater than 47 or 47 and above. These teams get blown out with high totals, and they're catching 3 at home, especially if this team has an over 500 record right now. If you look at teams that are over a 500 record, catching 3.5 at home, same deal. I'm on the Lions. I got 2 units on the -3.
I love it. That -3 is available right now, -113 at Pinnacle. I got the -114 at 365. And there are cappers in the chat that want the Cowboys. And you know, I don't know what to say. I mean, the Cowboys continue to deliver, and these are good, really strong. DJ 100 grand's money in the bank. He says Cowboys all day and the under. You got Londo on the Cowboys, but this is the only bet I've already made. I'm on the Lions minus three.
Bernie makes a strong point too, Jimmy. You know, look at the Lions defense and who they played: Stafford, Geno, excuse me, Baker Mayfield, and Murray. I mean, the defense has been well improved year over year, even though I know the most recency bias, right? The last game we've seen Seattle just move the ball up and down the field. But I think that they're going to make a point with the Cowboys this week.
How are you going to feel if the Lions close -3 at plus 100? And
at plus 100, I'm basically I'd be looking at the money line price to see where the money line is being priced at in that situation, and that might change the story just a little bit.
And so, you know, would you think of buying out of one of the units or something if it closed -3 at plus 100?
I'm a little bit stubborn. I probably should do that in some cases. I would have saved myself some money this season if I did it. I probably won't buy out, Jim. I love the matchup.
We are both on the Lions -3 and -114. This total very high. Opened up at 52.5, now at 52. You've already stated that you don't bet overs over 50. And I guess that speaks for itself in this situation. Is that right?
Sorry, I was reading the chat, Jim. You asked me about the total.
Yeah, I mean it's that range that you've already spoken on, the over 50.
Oh yeah, I can't go over 50.
But you don't want the under.
No, I mean I might be looking towards the under if I wasn't so heavily invested in the Lions already.
God, I wish this was our Sunday nighter. I'd love it if it was our Sunday nighter. All right, we roll on. Big Show picks in the house. Great to see you, Big Show, the producer and one of the stars of the Locker Room podcast, rocking with us. 4:25, and that's tonight. That pops off in 45 minutes for you guys. The hottest show on our channel, Locker Room Podcast, at 11 p.m. Eastern. 4:25 p.m. Eastern with the Atlanta Falcons 3-2, 1-0 on the road. The Carolina Panthers 1-4, 0-2 at home. We're Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. 80 Fahrenheit, sunny, 10-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history in this one. We have this total at 47.5 -104 to the under. Opened up at 48.5, dropped a point to 47.5. A 1-point move towards the under. Get over to the point spread in this one. We have this spread sitting with the Carolina Panthers +6 at -107. They opened up at +5.5 with a 0.5-point move towards the Atlanta Falcons. And you hammered the Bears hard last week and got paid in full for it. Take a look at the cash flow for this one. We have 91% of the tickets and 93% of the cash on the Atlanta Falcons. 70% of tickets, 70% cash on the over. We'll start with Atlanta. Red zone offense, 28th in the league, 42.9%. But their defense, red zone, 13th in the league, 50%. Their third down offense has been terrible, 26th in the league at 30.8%. And the Atlanta Falcons' third down defense is tied for the worst in the NFL at 48.5%. Falcons come in off extra rest and prep after a wild 36-30 overtime victory at home over the Bucs. Cousins threw for 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. The 4 touchdown passes tied his career high. 509 yards beat his all-time high. 460 was his all-time high for Minnesota in 2022. He broke Ryan's team record for passing yards in a game, beat that by 6. And only 14 quarterbacks have thrown more yards in a game. The record is still held by Norm Van Brocklin, 554. That's a record that stood since 1951. There aren't records in professional sports that are standing. I mean, you got, Wilt, Chamberlain, but other than that, 1951, Norm Van Brocklin, 554 yards. Drake London caught 12 passes for 154 yards, touchdown. Darnell Mooney caught 9 for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts caught 7 for 88 yards. The offense was rolling. Bijan Robinson ran 12 times for 61 yards, caught 3 for 16. Falcons had 28 first downs, but only 2 came on the ground. They went 6 of 14 on third down, 2 of 3 on fourth. They were just 2 of 4 in the red zone. The defense got beaten badly in the first half, but only allowed 2 field goals in the second half, tightened up. They allowed the Bucs to go 6 of 11 on third down and 2 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush was, again, nowhere to be found. 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit. Cornerback D. Alfred is in concussion protocol, and linebacker Troy Anderson didn't play because of a knee injury, and we're not sure if he'll be available this week. He's listed as questionable. He was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week 2 weeks ago. Then we have the Carolina Panthers. Red zone offense, 18th in the league, 50%. Their red zone defense is the worst in the NFL. They're allowing touchdowns, 87.5% of red zone opportunities. Unbelievable. Their third down offense, terrible, 28th in the league at 28.3%. Their third down defense, 29th in the league at 46.9%. Carolina comes in off an ugly 36-10 defeat at Chicago, outgained 424-292. The Red Rifle was 18 of 28 for 136 yards and an interception replaced late in the fourth quarter by Bryce Young. Bryce went 4 for 7 for 58 yards. Canales has already announced that Dalton will be starting this week. It was an ugly game. Now, Chuba Hubbard had another strong game. He ran 13 times for 97 yards and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble. They were just 3 of 12 on third down, 0 of 2 in the red zone. The defense looked soft and the pass rush disappeared. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. Now, they did hold the Bears to 4 of 11 on third down. The Bears did go 3 of 4 in the red zone. And more injuries. Tight end Tommy Tremble, concussion protocol. Jadeveon Clowney is listed as questionable with a shoulder injury. Tyler Motton, right tackle, ruled out already with an elbow injury. Wide receiver Xavier Leggett hurt his shoulder, but he's already said he's good to go. Center Austin Corbett tore his biceps, done for the season. They're already missing defensive end Derek Brown and linebacker Shaq Thompson. Both are done for the season. We've talked about when's DJ Wanham going to come back. He's not returning this week, so they're not getting that help there. And Jordan Fuller out long-term with a hamstring injury. This is a beat-up Panther squad. This might be a time to sell the Falcons high, but if you sell the Falcons high, you've got to buy the team they're playing. Take it away for us here, Troy. Falcons, Panthers.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this matchup. And it's a little tricky because we're sitting right around this 6, which I think is one of the most key numbers. And typically that applies more to home favorites at 6. You don't, the sample's much smaller when the home dog is +6 in that range. And it's typically not a number I like to mess around with, especially in division. I don't think I have a very clear side in this game. We know the Panthers are a very bad football team. Nothing else really needs to be said. They're not good on offense or defense, and they don't have any good positional groups. So what is there to like about that team? The Falcons on the other side, I mean, they were extremely lucky to pull out that win against Tampa Bay. I think it is a sell high spot in theory. Now they are coming off a bye. Am I right about that? They're coming off a bye, correct?
The Panthers.
No, the Falcons.
No, they're just coming off the Thursday nighter, so extra rest and prep.
Right. They got some extra rest. But this is not a team that's proven they can win by margin. Their 3 wins are combined by a combined 9 points, and 6 points of that margin came in at overtime. So it's just not a game I think I'm going to be looking to bet. I do have trends supporting the under. Home dog, line moving towards the under, but the total at 47.5, and this is telling me to maybe stay away. You know, I think it's extraordinarily high for this Falcons team. I was actually high on the defense after watching what they were doing. Troy Anderson's a key guy to get back, but God, maybe the right play is the Panthers team total under in this type of spot, but it's definitely under a pass. I'm not going to be on a side.
Yeah, I don't, with the injuries the Panthers are dealing with, I don't know how you can back them, you know. Lieutenant Dan's leg says odd coming from the guy that bet Carolina for the first 3 weeks. Hey, cashed in the third week. You know, 1 and 2 is not horrific. I mean, and I didn't.
I was on the money line, so.
Yeah, I know it's a great score in the week 3. You know, I mean, it's, you know, going back to those first 3 weeks, Troy had the balls to back him in week 3, cashed on the spread and money line. I'm the chump who only took him the first 2 weeks. So,
yeah, I was on the spread and the money line. I think 3 weeks, all 3 weeks, the first 3. So it's not like I came up a tremendous amount of money.
No, I feel you, but it's not as bad as, you know, Lieutenant Dan Legs trying to make fun of you. I should be the one that made fun of who got off after the 2 weeks of losing. This is tough to back the Panthers in this spot. I would love to sell the Falcons high in the spot, but again, then you have to buy the opposition. I don't want anything to do with the Panthers. I don't want anything to do with this total. When you have all these injuries, the volatility skyrockets, and I'm going to be off of this spot. Let's roll on to our Sunday nighter. We have our Sunday night live stream for this one. Again, I wish it was Lions Cowboys, but we'll take Bengals Giants. Cincinnati Bengals 1-4, 1-1 on the road to the New York Giants, 2-3, 0-2 at home at MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have the Giants at +3.5, and it's -117. This opened +3.5 and -106. It kind of yo-yoed for a bit until last night when it started moving towards the Giants. Got up to -118 and then came right back this morning to -108. Right now it's -117, so we have 11 cents of action towards them. And then when we go over to Bet Online and see the look-ahead spot, this was 5. The look-ahead spot was 5 before the Giants rolled into Seattle and won outright. Shout out to Birdie, who was on both the money line and the spread. I was just on the spread. Used it in the contest too, so it felt okay. This total here is at 49.5, juice to the under. 49 across the board. This opened up at 48. It's climbed up to 49.5. So it's a 1.5 move towards the over. Let's get into the cash flow here for this one. 84% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the Bengals. Then 71% tickets, 66% cash on the over. Cincinnati Bengals red zone offense 5th in the league, 68.8%. Their red zone defense has been very bad. Their red zone defense is bad as their red zone offense is good. The red zone defense, they're allowing touchdowns 66.7% of the time, bottom 5 in the NFL. Their third down offense 4th in the league, 47.5%. Their third down defense is just as bad as their third down offense is good. Their third down defense 2nd worst in the league, allowing 47.5% of the time conversions. Bengals coming off a heartbreaking 41-38 overtime loss at home to the Ravens. Bengals were up by 10 3 times in the second half. It sounds like the 49ers, man. Jackson brought the Ravens back each time. Their defense, Bengals defense, looks atrocious. Ravens put up 520 yards, 10 of 15 on third down, 5 of 6 in the red zone. Their offense looks strong. Burrow was 30 of 39 for 392 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jamar Chase caught 10 passes for 193 yards, 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins caught 9 for 83 yards. Chase Brown ran 12 times for 46 yards, 8 of 14 on third down. Perfect 3 of 3 in the red zone. The defense is a real problem here. Hubbard had the lone sack. Dax Hill suffered a right knee injury in the first quarter. Zach Taylor confirmed yesterday that is a torn ACL. He's done for the season. They're already missing offensive tackle Trent Brown, who's on IR with a knee injury. Now guard Jackson Kirkland has a torn biceps. He's out for the season. Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle, is out, and Mike Hilton is questionable. Actually, Rankins is listed as questionable. He's not listed as out yet, so I take that back. Then for these New York Giants, red zone offense, horrible. 26th in the league, 43.8%. Their third down offense is bad, 18th in the league, 37.5%. Their defense, now we knew they would have a real pass rush, but their defense is better all around than I expected it to be. Their red zone defense, 9th in the league at 45.5%, and their third down defense, 11th in the league at 33.9%. Coming off an impressive 29-20 victory at Seattle, highlighted by the blocked field goal return for a 60-yard touchdown with 55 seconds left. But they were full value for the win. Outgained the Seahawks 420 to 333, 24 first downs, held onto the ball for 37 minutes and 22 seconds. Daniel Jones was 23 of 34 for 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And Tyrone Tracy, 5th-round pick out of Purdue, was money in the bank, replacing Devin Singletary, running 18 times for 129 yards. With Malik Neighbors out with a concussion, Darius Slayton, 8 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. But the red zone continues to be a struggle. They were just 1 of 4 against the Seahawks. But the pass rush, excellent again. Dexter Lawrence, 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. The Giants' pass rush combined for 7 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. The defense only allowed the Seahawks 1 opportunity in the red zone. And they hope to have Neighbors and Singletary back this week. Other than those 2 important offensive weapons, this is a pretty healthy group. The question is, do you want to back them off of such a magical road victory and then a flight all the way across the country? Take it away for us, Troy. Bengals, Giants at MetLife.
So many like-kind markets this week, right? We're sitting right around the 3.5 range again. This is a Bengals or pass. I'm not buying the Giants off that road win. Coming back home, where Daniel Jones, Spenny's calling out in the chat, Daniel Jones in primetime, 1-12. The only thing that I'm kind of hesitating about, well, first of all, I want to see this get to 3 and see what it does from there, because maybe at 2.5 I'll rethink, even though the database says, we'll look at the money line price at that point. But I heard Burrow in a press conference talk about how his team isn't capable, along the lines of his team isn't capable of contending for a Super Bowl. It's kind of the message he was putting out there, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It wasn't like we're going to figure it out. I know you can make an argument that you want to hear that from your quarterback, right? Like he's going to help us overcome this and get us there. But it seemed like he was a little bit distraught by it. And looking at what his defense has been doing, how could you not? So this is a game I'll be watching. I'm probably going to have action on it. It's a primetime game. I'm not in any rush. Let's see where this line goes.
Yeah, I do not want the Bengals. And I don't want the Giants after that big win and flying across the country. So I'm not going to move on this. I don't think there's any angle that appeals to me.
How about a Giants game with a 49 total? Is that crazy?
Yeah, but even that Ravens Bengals spot, if I was only betting on the market, I would have been on the under. And I was like, I can't do it. I don't care if the Sharps are saying this is too high for a divisional game. I watch the Bengals week in and week out. I see that they play no defense. And so, I mean, I feel like the volatility of this game is enormously high. So, I don't.
The database would agree with you. I see 20-point wins by the home team, but I see way more 10, 14-point wins by the road team. So I could definitely see a scenario where the Giants pull this game out.
Yeah, I cashed on them last week. I'll take that money and hold it close. Right. Hold it close. Let's roll on. We have our Monday nighter, October 14th. This one is a beauty and storylines galore. 8:15 p.m. Eastern. The Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets. Bills 3-2, 1-2 on the road. Jets 2-3, 1-1 at home at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Let's get into the line history for our Monday nighter. And of course, Robert Saleh being fired today is the huge story that we will be discussing. This total right now is 41 at -109. Opened up at 42, dropped a point to 41 at -109. On the spread in this one, we have the Bills -2.5 at -104. They opened -2.5 at -110. So we've had 6 cents of movement towards the Jets. And that didn't happen until today, earlier, because this was a -2.5 at -121 yesterday morning. So obviously the news of Saleh getting fired has moved this pretty briskly towards the New York Jets. Take a look at the cash flow here for this one. You have 17% of the tickets and 49% of the cash on the Jets. 77% of the tickets and 69% cash on the over. We'll start with the Bills. It's a much easier breakdown than the Jets. Bills red zone offense 7th in the league at 66.7%. Red zone defense 13th, 50%. Their third down offense and defense is really bad, but their wins have been blowouts and their losses have been horrific, other than the 23-20 that just came out of. So it's kind of a difficult stat to study. Their third down offense 25th in the league at 32.1%. But if you looked at their first half third down offense, it's very good. It's just that some of those games they just stopped trying. Their third down defense 24th in the league at 43.9%. Chase J says the fired coach angle. Yes, and Benjamin Hill says a new coach angle. I tell you what I do is I never fade the team that's coming off firing their coach. There's been times where I stay off of it. And this could be a spot where I stay off of it, honestly, or even flip. This firing is very confusing, and we'll talk about it after we talk about the Bills coming off a disappointing 23-20 loss at Houston. Outgained 425 to 276. Texans were up 20-3, and then the Bills scored 17 straight points to tie it with 3.5 minutes left. And that punt back the Bills to their 3-yard line. 3 straight incomplete passes. Took just 25 seconds off the clock. Gave the Texans the ball at the Buffalo 46 with 7 seconds left in their timeouts left. It was just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling that they would do that. Josh Allen was just 9 of 30 for 131 yards in the touchdown. Shakir's absence was very notable. The receivers weren't getting separation. They were terrible. The Buffalo Bills receivers had 4 total receptions on 18 targets. Can you imagine? I mean, I've never seen that in a Josh Allen game. Keon Coleman led receivers with 1 catch for 49 yards, touchdown. Now, James Cook continued to deliver, ran 20 times for 82 yards, touchdown, caught 2 passes for 17 yards. The the defense held Allen at bay, but that, the Bills finished just 3 of 14 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. Ed Oliver out with an injury. Von Miller suspended for 4 games. This pass rush struggled to get any pressure. 1 sack, 6 quarterback hits, but Terrell Bernard back and had that massive interception. Let's talk about the Jets. Their red zone offense, 11th in the league at 61.5%. Their red zone defense, 6th in the league at 41.7%. Their third down offense, 10th in the league at 42.3%. Their third down defense, 8th in the league at 31.8%. Very good stats. Very good stats. You wouldn't think that the head coach of that team would be fired after 5 games. So they come in off the 23-17 loss to Minnesota, cost Saleh his job. Jeff Ulbrich to be their interim coach. So Woody Johnson said this was his decision, all on his own. It was all completely him. This is the first in-season head coaching move he's made in 25 years of ownership. And I still need to sit with this psychologically, and I was hoping that we, start that process here. The Jets have been disappointing. I mean, there's no way around it. They're 2-3, but they'd be in first place in the AFC East if they beat the Bills on Monday night. It's a very strange time to fire their coach. The last time a coach was fired with a .400 winning percentage or better during the first half of the regular season for on-field performance, so Gruden doesn't count, for on-field performance, was Lou Holtz in 1961 by the Boston Patriots. A lot of this just doesn't sit right. I don't like Saleh as a coach, but you had your chance, and we'll get into that in a second here. We'll get into that. Saturday says Robert Saleh removed play calling duties from Nathaniel Hackett before being fired. Londo says Bills minus 2.5 is a no-brainer spot. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Londo. But if you faded every team that's coming off a coach firing, you'd be begging for change on the corner of a street. Now you're saying here, because of the firing and the way it's being handled, this is a no-brainer spot, I guess, is what you're saying. But generally speaking, the public loses their shirt fading a team that just fired their coach. We have a rich history of that. So we have Ulbrich now the interim coach. The defense is being great, 5th in the NFL in EPA per play. And I think it's impossible for us to give Ulbrich too much credit for it. We know that Saleh is a defensive coach, defensive mind, and was a big part of the great 49ers defense. So the Jets ranked 22nd in EPA per play offensively. That's the problem. They have more turnovers and touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. But is Saleh the problem, or is Hackett always looking overmatched? I mean, is Hackett has been an offensive coordinator or, in control of an offense for 7 different seasons. In 6 of those seasons, the offense is ranked 25th or worse in DVOA. The only time they weren't 25th or worse in DVOA was when the 2017 Jaguars were 15th. He's never ran a good offense. Their first halves have been horrific. 1 touchdown in the first half against the Titans, 2 field goals in the first half against the Broncos, go down 17-0 in the first half against the Vikings. You fire Saleh now to make this point, but you could have hired DeMeco Ryans. You could have, made a deal for Sean Payton. You could have hired offensive coordinator or offensive-minded coaches if you knew that you had a great defense. Slowick, Ben Johnson were both available. You could have brought in Belichick or Pete Carroll or Mike Vrabel. The Jets in the Football Power Index are the 13th best in the league. They've outscored their opponents by 8 points. And you fire Saleh? They got nothing out of their run game against the Vikings. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen went a combined 14 carries for 36 yards. Aaron Rodgers' ankle is getting better. Will they trade for Devontae Adams here? I need more time with what the hell went on today for the New York Jets. Take it away, Troy. Our Monday Nighter, our final spot on the board. The floor is yours, and I can't wait to hear the breakdown. So many different angles for this one. Bills, Jets.
Well, it's about damn time. How many times have I gotten up here and said Saleh is one of the worst coaches in the NFL? It's just he never had his team prepared situationally. All in the margins of football, it's won on a third down play call. He's so stubborn defensively that he won't change his scheme. He won't change the techniques of his defensive line, even though it'll benefit him if he did. I just feel like it was time for him to go. I think they're going to be much better off without him. And looking at this matchup in particular, both teams, they want to play at a slower pace, or they do. I don't know if they want to, but they definitely do. The Bills predicate their offense on a running game now, 12 personnel. They're 25th in seconds per play, meaning they're very slow to get plays off. And if you watch the Jets from week to week, you know they let the clock damn near run down to 1 every single snap. I think this lines up to be a low-scoring affair. I really do. You look at the history between these two teams. You look at the history of a short home dog, less than 3 in division. Short home dogs in general, this total is already ticking down. 41's a key number. I moved on under 41 in this game pretty confidently. Jets at home in division, total move to the under. 4-1 to the under. 2-0 to the under versus the Bills. Bills on the road in division, total move to the under. 6-0 to the under. No games with more than 41 points with the Bills. And then primetime games in division with a total spread with the spread of 3 or less, 17-6 to the under, 13-4 to the under if the total moved that way. All signs point to the under in this matchup. I also will be teasing the Jets in some way, shape, or form. I'm still going to have to figure out what I'm going to pair with it. And with teasers, you kind of want to wait. I've learned that you kind of want to wait with teasers. You want to let the market become as efficient as it possibly can before moving on teasers. So I'm going to hold off. I also have some earmarked money line parlays. Like I'm going to have a Lions and a money line parlay. I'm sure get plus 140, 150-ish. But yeah, Jets on a teaser in this one and under 41.
Do you have any concern that Rodgers will show out now because he wants to make a statement to the brass that this was the right decision to make and that he's behind the decision, and it's possible that he wasn't trying as hard as you may want him to because of his displeasure with Saleh? We know that he loves Nathaniel Hackett because he could put his hand up his ass and move his lips. Do you think that this is a spot where Rodgers
wants to prove to people what he's about?
Yeah,
I do. I think that's definitely this type of spot. But over the past 3-4 years of Aaron Rodgers' career, what have we seen? We've seen a much slower approach to the game. We've seen a dink and dunk, death by 1,000 cuts, not really big plays downfield. And this is not a team that's set up to do that right now. They can't move the ball on the ground. They're taking way too long to get up to the line of scrimmage. And I think it's a good matchup for the Bills defense as well. And on the other side of the ball, I agree. Like, why is Josh Allen in this game? He definitely was concussed last week. It's amazing that they let him get back in that game. That is a concern. It's a good counterpoint to the under. But I do believe that this team just isn't equipped to make big plays, and it's because they can't run the football.
The Monday night overs were 6-0 before last night. We expected some regression to the mean for those overs, and this is happening now. If there wasn't the firing of the coach, I would be on this under 41. But I have real fear that Rodgers is the puppet master behind all of this. And now he's going to show that it was the right decision. And it took me a little while to kind of figure this out. And I'm not saying I'm fully there yet, but I think I'm moving towards Jets money line. I hate that a 40-year-old quarterback that we think is, washed coming off this huge injury is capable of this. And maybe I'm giving him too much credit. That's what I got to sit with tonight. Am I giving him too much credit saying that that he's going to now show us that he was right all along, even though he's not been publicly saying these things?
You look at even last week, they should have covered that game, maybe even won that game. The 2 interceptions that he threw, one went for a touchdown, obviously. They were after drop passes, both of them. Both of them never would have happened had the receiver caught the pass. In one case, it was the running back. And that little things like that go unrecognized, but it definitely changes the trajectory of a game. I agree with you. I would definitely be on the Jets. I'm being asked why take the Jets in this situation if I had just talked shit about them like I did. I'm kind of waffling, if you will. It's because of these divisional dogs of around 2.5 on a teaser have been just ridiculously profitable. I have undefeated trends, especially with the total lower than 47. Just makes too much sense to let this spot pass me by. I cashed with it last week with the Bengals and at home is a plus 2.5, and the Bucks as well. So yeah, I'm back on the teaser, and I like the under as well. Let's start regressing back to the mean. 6-0 to the over. We got 1 to the under.
6-1 now. Yeah, 6-1 now. No, I get it. I got to sit with this longer. I feel like I'm going to just be on the Jets money line. If you're on the Jets money line, should you also take the team total over 19.5? Yes. Then I have to sit here and go, I don't like Aaron Rodgers as a person. How much money do I want to invest in the guy? And then how am I giving him too much credit? Those are going to be the things that I'm going to sit with for the next couple days. A birdie saying, see Woody publicly begging Hassan to come to New York, begging him. I don't like, obviously, I kind of made it clear in my breakdown. I think Woody and his message today that is taped explanation is bad. I think he's a bad owner. I think he's made some bad decisions over the last year and a half. He's created this problem. And but in saying that, I have a funny feeling that the whole relax is going to veer its ugly head, because when he was saying relax, he knew he had the team behind it. And now I think he made this all happen, the Salah firing, and now he's going to show why it was the right thing to do here this week against the Bills, who are dealing with a ton of injuries. So I guess what I've done is talk myself into the Jets money line and the Jets team total over. I'm not going to bet this tonight. I really want to sit with this for a little while because there's a lot on the line, doubling up on a spot like this, doubling up on a Monday night live stream and all that. So, but that's my plan. Troy on the under 41. That was a fun breakdown. We have Mitch Fearing saying Salah is a bum coach, always going for it in the red zone. If they had kicked the field goal in the first half last week, they would have won. Mitch Fearing now tied with Jose Bouquet on top of the leaderboard for the NFL Cappers contest here at Pub Sports Radio. Yes, Mel, I don't like him, but he's a very skilled quarterback now. I know he's 40, but he's such a puppet master guy behind the scenes that he surely is capable of controlling certain things. I'm going to sit with it a little longer. Al Cervic loving the angle. It probably gives me enough confidence to move on it here shortly, which I plan to probably do in the next few days, but I do want to sit with it a little longer. Let's review all action here. It's great having Troy Torrence back in action with us on Bankroll Blitz. It's the over on the Thursday nighter. 49ers, Seahawks, and Birdie will be on the Jets with me. I like it. I think I'm gaining confidence on the whole thing now. But if this total goes down in that game, I'll be able to maybe get a better line depending on. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it all bangs out. The over. I fucking don't want to be here on our live stream on Thursday night expecting points in the divisional game here. I hate that feeling. I hate it. But these defenses are banged up. The offenses can score. We talked about the 49ers playing in that extreme heat as the hottest ever been by far, by 25 degrees. So I'm interested in the over. Troy gets his card started with the Bears -2 in London for Jacksonville, Chicago. Then
Jimmy, what was that over? What was that total in the Seahawks Niners when we were talking about it?
It moved from 47 to 47.5.
Well, now it's up to 49.5.
Jesus Christ. What? Maybe I'm tripping out. Sorry, let me.
No, it just moved. It just moved since we've been on.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ! It moved 2.5 points. Moved 2 points. Oh fuck! God, it's such a shitty feeling. Is that? It feels like you've done something wrong. You know, that's my like you're guilty of something. That's the feeling I get. Like I instantly start sweating. Oh. Fuck.
At the same time, if you look at all the plays I've had CLV on, I'm hitting it like 30% on it when I have closing line value this year. So,
Jesus, Joseph Alvarado, my man. Yes, this is live. Wow, I cannot believe.
Dale Flick, my record right now in the NFL, I'm down 23 units or something along those lines. I'm struggling this season. But if you look at the history of the database, I've been public with it for over a year and a half now. I'm up over 150 units.
Yeah, and it'll be up. I just because all of his action is not official action for us. It's the stuff that he's being put out. So I've just got to work through that tomorrow. So there's no hiding his record. And also, this is year 2 of us with Troy, and we all saw what he did last year, and it was phenomenal. This is just about the accountability and what we do, but we all watched him last year go up over 50 units, finish the year plus 38.97 units on 426 bets with a plus 131 line. So
yeah, I'm making 26 bets in a week on average, and a lot of them are double up, triple up spots. So it's what it is, man. I took it on the mouth. I'm gonna fucking make a comeback here.
Yeah, and we have to deal with the consequences of the action. I mean, this is part of this, man. And he was down last year after 4 weeks, so we'll see how it bangs out. I cannot believe that just went up, so I'm not going to bet it now out of anger. Maybe see if I can get in live. Troy's on the Bears. I cannot believe that. That went from 47 to 47.5, and then it just moves.
I've never seen it that aggressive in 2 points in a few minutes.
Yeah. Yes, Dale Fick. His record will be on. Look, let me just say this again, Dale. I don't know how long you think it takes to prepare for these shows. About 15 or 16 hours of actual work. I'm not talking of a 16-hour section of work. I'm talking about 16 hours of actually working. So cut out the time where you're eating, cut out the time where you're taking a shit. If you have time, take a shit, Dale. So look, I did handle Birdie's records. I'm a little behind on Troy's records, but I tell you, Dale, we're not hiding shit. All right? Fuck, man. You know how fucking hard this is? How much fucking work goes into this, Dale?
I'm beat right now, man. I'm dripping sweat. I've been in the fucking lab for about 16 hours straight now. So
no, I will track it, Dale. I have tracked it. It's just all right. Troy's on the Bears -2 at -112. It's just like to think that we're hiding something that it fills me with rage. But also, I'm barely sleeping, working my ass off with this shit. Cardinals and the under is when I'm. Thank you, F on you, my man. Made in Philly, getting it. Cardinals and the under for Arizona, Green Bay. I think I may move on those tonight. I want the Titans, but I'm going to wait. I want the Titans, but I'm going to wait on that. I want to sit with that a little bit longer. Then Patriots +7 and the under 38 for Troy Torrance. That is official. Troy's on the under 42.5 in Tampa Bay, New Orleans. I would like to get in on that tonight.
I'm on the -2.5 there. I'm on the 2.5. I know I didn't post it in time, but yeah, 2.5. I'll be looking to back a 3. I just been hoping to get a better number.
Is that it for the Buccaneers?
Yes.
Okay, you got that. Then I have some interest in the Eagles for the NFC +800. Just have in my pocket. I would not bet 300 on that. I'm not sure exactly how I'd handle that. I wouldn't be a full unit bet. It would just be something I kind of want in my pocket. I'll spend a little bit more time on that one. Then NFL spreadsheet play of the day from Ron Crawford is the Washington Commanders. Troy's on the under 36 at -108 in Chargers Broncos. I'm going to bet that as soon as the show's over.
It's my biggest bet of the week.
I want the Raiders. But I'm not moving on that tonight. I got to sit with that a little longer. Troy and I are both on lines -3. That's locked in. And then Falcons, Panthers, no action for us. Bengals, Giants, no action. That's a crazy Sunday nighter. And then I expect to be on the Jets money line, the Jets team total over in Bills Jets. Troy's on the under 41. And the longer I sit with it, the more I like it. I do want to get the best line available, so I'll be studying that tonight. I don't know if I move on that tonight, but I'm definitely going to move on that. And that is our show for today. Thank you guys all for supporting Mac Beaver, Saturated AOD, Birdie, Goran Ninkowski, Rants, Sebastian, Subhuman Gaucho, made in Philly. Thank you guys. Truly, thank you guys. Chosen One. All of you guys, thank you so much for your support. Harold Williams, AOD, all of you guys. Mel, thank you. Rants. Mitch Fearing, Saturated, great to rock with all of you guys. Let's get that cash. This is a big week for both of us and for all of you guys. Each week is more important than the last. So thank you guys for your support. Thank you to Victor on the ones and twos. Vic producing for us today, did a great job. Thank you so much, Vic, my man. And Troy, so great to have you back in business with us. So Troy, my friend, final words before and Vic, I'll hit the outro for this one. I'll get us out on this one when Troy's locked in. So Troy, take us home, my man. Last words.
Hey, Pulse Sports Radio. I truly believe the best community in the industry. Glad to be rocking with you, Jimmy. It's time to make a comeback. I started the climb out 2 weeks ago. I'm going to be out by the end of the season.
Oh, I know you will. We want you out by week 8, though.
Let's go. I'll be grinding.
We'll see you guys soon. Betting with Bouquet Wednesday morning. See you guys soon.